Chapter 631. Chop off an arm. Everyone was shocked. Lin Xian let Qi Tian off, but he wanted to punish He Muyue and the others. This was obviously going against the Blackwood stronghold. However, from Lin Xian's words, everyone understood the grudge between him and the Blackwood stronghold. From this point of view, it was indeed the Blackwood stronghold that was too arrogant and in the wrong. However, the Blackwood stronghold had always been so overbearing and arrogant. Those who were related to Wu and I and the others had all been mercilessly assassinated. But this time they seemed to have kicked an iron plate. Not only were the martial artists below shocked, but even the supreme experts in the surroundings were greatly surprised. The supreme experts of the Blackwood stronghold were present in the soul spirit perception of the nearby area. Right now, a 5th stage spirit detection realm martial artist actually wanted to kill a disciple of the Blackwood stronghold in front of a supreme expert. This was a blatant slap to the face. Deep in the clouds, an elder stood in the void. That elder was wearing a green robe and the word battle was drawn with golden thread on his chest. The dragon and phoenix were dancing and emitting an indescribable aura. At this moment, the elder smiled as he looked at the scene below and nodded slightly. Not bad, this kid has some character. Beside the elder was a young lady wearing a green gauze dress. The young lady had an elegant appearance and emitted a different aura. Especially that pair of eyes which were like gemstones and abnormally spirited. She curled her lips and said with disdain, trying to be brave in front of a supreme expert. What an idiot. But old man, didn't you notice anything? How many times have I told you to call me master? Why are you so disobedient? The green-robed elder had an unhappy expression. Umph. The young lady in the green gauze dress snorted and ignored the green-robed elder's dissatisfaction. She then said again, "Don't you think that he is very similar to the person in the portrait in the palace?" Hearing that, the green-robed elder was slightly startled and looked carefully. You don't say. There are some similarities, but this youth's age is slightly older than the one in the portrait. No way. Could it really be that person? The young lady in the green gauze dress covered her mouth and exclaimed. Interesting. If it is really him, then it will be even more interesting. The elder and the young lady discussed softly and paid close attention to the situation below. When the venerable from Blackwood stronghold heard Lin's words, he immediately snorted in dissatisfaction. Although his real body had not arrived and it was only the aura of his soul, his voice was filled with the pressure of a venerable one. However, the great dragon sword soul in his body roared ferociously and quickly neutralized the pressure. Lin Xian's expression was solemn. Like a sudden clap of thunder, everyone staggered and couldn't stand steadily. Countless people revealed terrified expressions. It was too terrifying. They could not withstand the aura of a supreme expert at all, and many of them suffered internal injuries. Lin Xian was also affected and his eyes flickered. He dared to do so because he was confident that he could escape from the venerable one. If he was really forced into a corner, he would just have to leave Quicksand City. Moreover, there was no need for him to worry about Nangong Seng and Marulong. Both of them were disciples of large families and were definitely safer than him. Therefore, Lin Xian directly chose to ignore the warning of the Blackwood stronghold's venerable. Are you going to do it yourselves or do you want me to do it? Hearing Lin Xian's words, everyone was dumbfounded and dumbstruck. Is this guy crazy? He actually dares to make a move. One had to know that the cold snort just now was very threatening. Did he really dare to make a move under the nose of a venerable one? Blackwood Yu and the 3 martial artists behind him were even more terrified. Just now, when they heard the cold snort from their family's elder, they were wild with joy as if they had been pardoned. Because they knew that a venerable one could definitely protect their safety. However, Lin Xian still wanted to make a move at this moment. This was too insolent, too arrogant. However, they forgot that they were the ones who were arrogant first, and Lin Xian was only forced to counterattack. Seeing the expressions of Blackwood Yu and the others, Lin Xian sneered. Looks like you guys don't want to do it yourselves. Fine, I'll do it myself. After saying that, he once again grasped the sword of slaughter in his hand. A shocking killing intent surged and swept out in all directions. It was as if countless sword lights were raining down, and it was extremely sharp. The surrounding martial artists trembled. They felt a tremor coming from the depths of their souls. Lin Xian held the sword of slaughter in his hand, and his entire body was filled with killing intent. He was like a god of death that came from hell. He raised his arm and a blood-red sword of slaughter rushed out, quickly slashing towards Blackwood Yu and the others. No! Ancestors, save me! Blackwood Yu screamed in horror. He's scared, he's really scared. Lin Xian was a madman. He actually dared to attack them in front of a venerable one. In the void, the voice sounded again. Then a huge palm of light fell, shattering the blood-red sword of slaughter. Junior, enough is enough. One must know when to advance and when to retreat. Don't you understand this principle? The huge hand that covered the sky floated, and then quickly condensed into an old figure. This figure was completely formed by spiritual power, and it contained a trace of the Venerable One's soul imprint. On his body, there was a faint Venerable One's aura. Young man, it's better to be careful. Otherwise it would be a pity if you fall. The Venerable One's voice was cold, and the threat in it was very strong. According to the rules of Quicksand City, the older generation generally did not interfere in the affairs of the younger generation. Moreover, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, it was even more inappropriate for a Venerable One to do such a thing. Therefore, the Venerable One of Blackwood Stronghold condensed this clone. However, his killing intent towards Lin Xian was not weak at all. Enough is enough? Lin Xian sneered. When you tried to assassinate me time and time again, did you think of this principle? Don't you think it's ridiculous to try to reason with me now? Facing a Venerable One, Lin Xian was not afraid. Hearing this, everyone fell silent. Although Lin Xian's words made sense, openly confronting a Venerable One was not a wise choice. Junior, you're very arrogant. You should know that dead geniuses are nothing. The Venerable One's clone's face was gloomy, and his voice was filled with killing intent. Arrogant? You flatter me. Compared to your Blackwood stronghold, I'm still far inferior. Lin Xian smiled indifferently. Impudent? Hearing Lin Xian's mocking words, the Venerable One's clone flew into a rage. He shouted coldly, and the void quickly exploded, forming a terrifying wave of air that enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He activated the Great Dragon Sword Soul again, forming a biting cold sword chi that slashed in all directions, instantly destroying the wave of air. A dignified Venerable One actually attacked a junior. How impressive, how powerful. Lin Xian sneered. The other party was a Venerable One, and he actually dared to attack him in public. Lin Xian's killing intent was biting cold. Since the other party did not care about his identity, he could not care less. He must cut off an arm of Blackwood Stronghold and the others. The Venerable One's clone coldly snorted, then stood with his hands behind his back and said arrogantly, "Who do you think you are? You're not worthy of me killing you. Today's matter ends here. I'm going to take them back now. I said that I'll cut off an arm of theirs today, so I must do it." Lin Xian's voice was sonorous, not backing down an inch. His body emitted a shocking battle intent. Then he gripped the slaughter sword and roared. He quickly slashed out a blood-red sword chi like a wave of blood rolling out. Junior, you're courting death. The Venerable One's clone sneered. He pointed a finger, colliding with the blood-red slaughter sword chi. The two collided, creating a loud explosion, forming a rain of light and a sea of blood. But at this time Lin Xian's lips curled into a sneer. His large success sword intent crazily surged out, quickly covering all directions. This sword intent was very shocking, immediately causing the surrounding martial artists' weapons to rapidly tremble. In the next moment, the weapons on Blackwood Stronghold and the three martial artists behind him all slashed out, quickly turning around and slashing at their right arms. Pucci. Chapter 632. He Muyue and the other three screamed miserably. At the same time their right arms were chopped off. Blood splattered and swords clashed. This scene left everyone dumbfounded. The Supremacy's clone was also stunned, then he flew into a rage. Thief, you're courting death. A palm of light blasted over and a terrifying energy surged out. He was too angry. A spirit-detecting thief dared to kill his tribesmen in front of him. This was completely looking down on him. Moreover, before this, he had said that he would protect the safety of the four of them. Lin Xian's actions were not only to punish He Muyue and the others, but also to slap his face. Especially in front of so many people. The Supremacy felt like his lungs were about to explode. The people below were even more shocked. They did not expect Lin Xian to be so fierce. He did not care about the Supremacy at all. Moreover, not only did he do it but he also succeeded. In front of the Supremacy, he chopped off the right arms of He Muyue and the others. This was too shocking. Lin Xian's figure floated and quickly dodged the palm of light. At the same time he quickly pulled away and prepared to retreat. The Supremacy snorted coldly. His eyes were like rainbows as he stared at Lin Xian, preventing him from attacking again. If Lin Xian went crazy and killed He Muyue and the others, then he would lose even more face. Lin Xian's heart sank when he was stared at by the Supremacy. The power was too terrifying. It was far from what a spirit-detecting martial artist could withstand. Even if the other party was just a clone, it still brought about endless pressure. Moreover, he had the dragon sword soul in his body to be able to withstand it. It seemed that it was still too difficult to face the supremacy now. Lin Xian sighed and prepared to leave. At this moment, the supremacy's clone attacked again. An incomparably powerful force surged over like a surging river. Those energy ribbons contained extremely terrifying energy. They were like a vast sea that flickered with light. It was too powerful. The supremacy's attack was terrifying. It was enough to kill any spirit-detecting martial artist. Lin Xian's expression was solemn. He could not resist, but he was confident that he could escape. Just as he was about to retreat, the 5 energy ribbons in the sky suddenly fluctuated violently, as if they had suffered a great attack. This is... Lin Xian frowned but did not act rashly. The supreme expert's heart sank. Someone actually dared to make a move against him. Could it be that they were not afraid of the Blackwood family's revenge? Thinking of this, he snorted coldly and killing intent erupted from his eyes. At this time, a violent explosion suddenly occurred in the void. The 5 energy ribbons completely exploded, turning into a rain of energy. What? The venerable from the Blackwood fort was startled. He didn't expect his attack to be broken so quickly. It seemed that the opponent was also a venerable like him. Oh, get out here. You actually dare to meddle in the affairs of Blackwood Castle. Hee Blackwood Castle, how impressive. A dignified venerable actually dares to attack a junior. How capable. A mocking voice was heard. Then, the rain of light in the sky fluttered and quickly formed a word in the air. Fight. The characters were flamboyant and contained immeasurable energy. Seeing the word fight, the surrounding venerable's divine senses were all startled. The pupils of the Blackwood Fort's venerable shrank. Palace of Ares, it's actually someone from the Palace of Ares. He was astonished and his expression became extremely ugly. The Palace of Ares was a powerful force. There were kings in the palace, and they were an overlord in the Sky Martial continent. Although their foundation was not in the Sand region, they were not to be underestimated. One must know that not long ago the primordial Yang stone mine appeared in the setting sun desert. Their Blackwood fort had once fought with the Palace of Ares for it, but they lost in the end. And now, the people from the Palace of Ares appeared again. He didn't know what the other party was planning, and he didn't know why they would protect Lin Xian. He quickly sent a message wanting his main body to rush over. Otherwise a clone wouldn't be enough. At this time, a 5-colored figure appeared and said in a clear voice, I didn't expect a friend from the Palace of Ares to come. Why don't you come out for a chat? That 5-colored figure was City Lord Qi. The crowd below was shocked. They had heard of the Palace of Ares' reputation. It was the overlord of the entire Sky Martial continent. They didn't expect the other party's honorable to appear here and even save Lin Xian. Could it be that Lin Xian is from the Palace of Ares? The crowd guessed. Otherwise, why would the honorable of the Palace of Ares help? Moreover, a monstrous genius like Lin Xian could only be nurtured by the Palace of Ares. It wasn't just one person who thought so. Almost everyone thought so. Nan Gongseng and the rest also heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Xian had given them too much shock, and they didn't need to worry at all. City Lord Qi's words were still echoing when 2 figures appeared from the clouds and flew down quickly. It was an old man, and beside him was a beautiful young lady in a green dress. She exuded a unique aura. The old man and the young lady were like immortals as they floated down. City Lord Qi, greetings. The old man in green smiled. Senior, thank you for your help. Lin Xian said. Hearing Lin Xian's words, the crowd was stirred again. It seemed like Lin Xian wasn't from the Palace of Ares. The Honorable of Blackwood Stronghold snorted, This is my Blackwood Stronghold's matter. As a member of the Palace of Ares, aren't you overstepping your boundaries? The old man in green nodded kindly at Lin Xian, then looked at the Honorable of the Blackwood Stronghold. If you encounter something shameless, this old man will intervene. Moreover, who said this is your Blackwood Stronghold's matter? This young man is fated with our Palace of Ares. Hearing this, the crowd was stunned and puzzled. The Honorable of Blackwood Stronghold's face turned black. He snorted and didn't say anything else, but waited for his true body to descend. The old man in green knew his intentions, but he didn't care and didn't stop him. Soon, 2 powerful auras appeared and rushed over from afar. Whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, 2 figures appeared in the void. An enormous pressure enveloped the surroundings like a wave. Honorable to honorable. The crowd trembled, their faces full of fear. Two honorable appeared in the Blackwood stronghold. It seemed like they were really afraid of the palace of Ares. One of the honorable was a middle-aged man, and the other was an old man. The old man was the one who manifested his clone. The two of them stood in the void, facing the honorable of the palace of Ares with vigilance. Lin Xian frowned. Too honorable was already beyond his tolerance. He wanted to leave. However, the old man in green sent a voice transmission to guarantee his safety. Looking at the two honorable of Blackwood stronghold, the old man in green snorted, "My palace of Ares will protect this young man. If your Blackwood stronghold dares to touch him, just wait for your clan to be exterminated." At the end, his voice was like a clap of thunder that exploded in the void, stunning the crowd. At this moment, everyone was stunned. The honorable of the palace of Ares was actually so powerful that he wanted to protect Lin Xian. The two honorable of Blackwood stronghold had gloomy expressions and were trembling with anger. Chapter 633. It was a threat, a blatant threat. Not only did he threaten the two of them, but he also threatened the entire Blackwood fort. They were very angry. As the top forces of Quicksand City, when had they ever been threatened like this? However, they could only endure it. Because the other party was from the Palace of War. That was a real giant. If they angered him, there might really be a disaster. However, they were really unwilling to admit defeat just like that. As if he understood both sides, the green-clothed old man smiled indifferently. "How about this? I'll give you a chance to save your face. Use your strongest attacks. If you can make me take a step back, then I won't interfere in this matter anymore." Hearing this, everyone was shocked. This was too arrogant, too domineering. The two venerables of the Blackwood fort were so angry that their faces turned black. This person had underestimated them too much. The two of them looked at each other and prepared to attack. "Let me remind you, you can attack together," the green-clothed old man said casually. Hearing this, even the corners of City Lord Chi's mouth twitched slightly. He sighed and didn't say anything else. The two venerables of the Blackwood fort were so angry that their bodies trembled. How dare he underestimate them? However, after discussing, they decided to attack together. In any case, this was the other party's request. They could seize the opportunity to ruthlessly dampen the other party's limelight. They wanted to let everyone know who was the true overlord of Quicksand City. Since fellow Taoist has requested it, then we will definitely fulfill it. The two of them sneered. Their auras surged, and waves of energy belonging to venerables surged out. Lin Xian frowned and flew to a safe place. However, he was also uneasy. Wasn't it a bit too arrogant to face two venerables alone? However, he didn't understand the situation of venerables, so he couldn't make a judgment rashly. However, looking at the green-clothed old man's expression, he didn't seem to care at all. In the next moment, the two venerables of the Blackwood fort attacked, and vast energy filled heaven and earth. The middle-aged man slashed out a saber light. It was so dazzling that it tore the entire space apart. That power had completely surpassed the spirit-detecting stage. The vast aura seemed to have triggered the momentum of heaven and earth. It was incomparably terrifying. The other old man waved his fist and punched out. It was like a meteor chasing the moon, releasing tens of thousands of rays of light. The two terrifying attacks blasted towards the green-clothed old man at the same time. In an instant, the entire void began to collapse. Everyone below was terrified, and their faces turned pale from the pressure of this energy. However, the old man in green was very calm. He formed a seal with one hand and quickly blasted it forward. Mountain seal. A mountain condensed and appeared between heaven and earth. It was like a divine mountain that weighed over 10,000 jin. It flickered with light and blasted forward. A large area of the void was torn apart. Countless horrifying cracks spread out, pitch black like a black hole. Rumble. The huge divine mountain moved horizontally and collided with the blade and fist shadows, emitting an apocalyptic sense of crisis. City Lord Chi's expression changed. Together with a few venerables who were hiding in the dark, they quickly formed a light screen to cover the town below. Otherwise, the entire Quicksand City would be destroyed. The four venerable ones joined forces to defend and finally blocked the energy. The violent energy disappeared and the sky became clear again. The azure-robed old man stood there indifferently. Beside him, the young girl in the azure-robed dress looked ahead with disdain. There, the two Blackwood fort venerables kept retreating. Every step he took back cracked the void. It was terrifying to the extreme. This scene showed who was superior. Lin Xian was shocked. This old man from the Palace of War was too powerful. He could actually fight against two venerables alone. Not only Lin Xian but the nearby venerables were also shocked. At the venerable realm, the improvement of one's strength was very slow. It often took hundreds of years of accumulation. Moreover, the improvement of each realm was very difficult. There were 9 heavens of the venerable realm, and each realm was worlds apart. The two venerables from the Blackwood Fort stopped, and their expressions became very ugly. The two of them were first and second venerable realm experts respectively. When the two of them joined forces, they were incomparably powerful. However, they were actually forced back by a single hand. This was definitely a humiliation. Their eyes burned with anger as their chests heaved up and down. With a long roar, the two of them activated their martial souls with all their might and attacked crazily. A long saber appeared in front of the middle-aged man, emitting a terrifying pressure. As soon as it appeared, it crushed all directions. Its power was definitely not something that a spiritual treasure could compare to. Long saber martial soul. It was the middle-aged man's martial soul. With the saber in hand, the middle-aged man seemed to have turned into a saber god, incomparably valiant. On the other side, the old man also summoned his martial soul. His martial soul was a goshawk. Its entire body was pitch black, and a murderous aura surged on it, emitting fluctuations that made one's heart palpitate. The two of them summoned their martial souls at the same time, as if they were facing a great enemy. Haha, today I'll make you accept your defeat wholeheartedly. The green-robed old man laughed loudly. In the next moment, a green light bloomed around his body, enveloping all directions. A vast and unfathomable energy spread out, incomparably profound. In an instant, it enveloped the two martial artists from the Blackwood Fort. Terrifying energy erupted, and every trace of it could tear the void apart. Lin Xian looked at the sky shocked. This was the power of a venerable. It was incomparably violent and had the power of heaven and earth. Ah! Suddenly 2 screams were heard. It was very ear-piercing. As soon as the sound came out, City Lord Qi and the other venerables were shocked. Lin Xian was also shocked and looked up. In the void, 2 figures were covered in blood, fleeing into the distance in an extremely sorry state. They were very fast and disappeared in an instant. However, wherever they passed, blood spread in the void. It was very terrifying. Hiss! City Lord Qi and the others gasped and their eyelids twitched wildly. In just a short while, the 2 venerables from the Blackwood Fort were defeated, and they fled with serious injuries. After all, one of them was at the 2nd level of the venerable realm. When the 2 of them joined forces, they could even fight against a 3rd-level venerable. However, they couldn't resist at all in front of the green-robed old man. For a time, the green-robed old man became mysterious in the eyes of everyone. The green light that filled the sky dissipated, revealing the green-robed old man's figure. Beside him, the young girl from the Green Radish group was still smiling faintly, as if she was mocking the 2 who fled. Haha, I wonder who else wants to have a taste of it? The green-robed old man laughed faintly. Silence, absolute silence. Fellow Taoist, you must be joking. City Lord Qi laughed dryly. This is just an accident. Don't worry, I guarantee that no venerable realm martial artist will attack juniors in Quicksand City. Hearing that, the green-robed old man nodded in satisfaction. On the other hand, Lin Xian scratched his head. It was resolved just like that? Wasn't happiness coming too suddenly? However, he was still very puzzled as to why the green-robed old man would help him. He had many secrets, so he had to be careful. Unless it was a last resort, he was really unwilling to get involved with an expert like a venerable. However, the old man didn't seem to think so. Chapter 634. Although the green-clothed old man looked kind, Lin Xian still felt a chill down his spine. This old man was definitely a terrifying figure to be able to injure 2 supremacies with one strike. Nothing good would happen if such a person targeted Lin Xian. Well, thank you for your help. I'll take my leave now. Lin Xian felt a chill down his spine. He didn't want to stay any longer. Hee little guy, don't be impatient. I have something to ask you, the green-clothed old man said with a smile. In the end, Lin Xian couldn't escape. In the quiet courtyard, Lin Xian looked at the green-clothed old man in front of him. He was on guard. Beside him, the young lady in the green dress stared at Lin Xian curiously. Her big eyes were blinking. The dark red divine dragon was originally hiding in Lin Xian's sleeve. Now that it was enveloped by the aura of a supremacy, it felt uncomfortable and ran out. The little white monkey also jumped out and hugged the spirit fruit. "Ah, this snake." The green-clothed old man was surprised. The young lady, Qing'er, turned to look at the little white monkey. Her face was filled with joy. Feeling the pressure on him disappear, Lin Xian secretly heaved a sigh of relief. After a while Lin Xian asked, "May I know why you're looking for me?" "Yes, it's like this." The green-clothed old man gave up on studying the dark red divine dragon and said with a smile, "Little guy, what's your name?" "I'm Lin Xian." "Your surname is Lin." The green-clothed old man and the young lady looked at each other. They were even more certain of their guess. "Where are you from?" "Tiannan region." "What's your father's name?" "Lin Zhan." Lin Xian was puzzled, but he still said it out loud. As expected. The green-clothed old man sighed. He felt that the situation was very likely. However, he wasn't 100% sure. After all, there had been cases of people impersonating him in the past. However, they all ended up badly. "Senior, I'm here to look for my father. May I know where he is?" The green-clothed old man stroked his beard. Just as he was about to say something, a powerful and cold aura suddenly enveloped the surroundings. The entire sky instantly darkened. Black clouds rolled in the sky as if they were demonic clouds. A powerful aura that made people tremble could be felt. The azure-robed elder's expression changed, and his expression became extremely solemn. "Brat, if you want to know the answer, go to the Palace of Ares." After saying that, he took the girl beside him and turned into a beam of light, shooting straight into the sky. The demonic cloud was very powerful and its speed was very fast. In an instant, it had left the sky above their heads. The green-robed elder followed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Palace of Ares? Within the courtyard, Lin Xian's eyes were shining. His main goal in coming to the Martial Heaven continent was to find his father. Now he finally got the news. However, he didn't know what relationship his father had with the Palace of Ares. Could it be that father is also a member of the Palace of Gods of War? Lin Xian guessed, feeling extremely puzzled. Furthermore, from the attitude of the green-clothed old man, it was obvious that he was closely related to his father. He decided that as soon as he obtained the divine dream bone in Quicksand City, he would immediately set off for the War God Palace. In the following time, Lin Xian entered a state of cultivation. After his battle with Luo Lai, he had a new understanding of the embryonic form of his martial soul. Even his greater success sword intent, which hadn't changed for a long time, showed signs of loosening. It wouldn't be long before he broke through and reached the Great Perfection realm. During this period, Lin Xian's mind was constantly recalling the scene of his battle with Luo Lai, especially the form of the embryonic form of his martial soul. Lin Xian extracted that wonderful feeling bit by bit and constantly simulated it. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. In these 3 days, the Divine Dragon Pavilion's martial arts arena was being rebuilt. Although the building was destroyed, Nan Gongseng and the others weren't depressed at all. Everyone had a smile on their faces, and their eyes were filled with excitement. Because of Lin Xian, their Divine Dragon Pavilion's martial arts arena had become famous again. Moreover, from now on, there would probably be no one who would come to cause trouble. After all, even a top genius like Luo Lai had been defeated. It was useless for others to come. Just as Nan Gongseng's side was cheering, the Blackwood Fort was silent. Their disciple had an arm chopped off outside. The 2 supremacies who stepped forward were even injured and fled back in panic. Those disciples in the clan were scared out of their wits, feeling as if the end of the world had arrived. The higher-ups of the Blackwood Fort were even more furious. When had they ever suffered such humiliation? However, the other party was from the Palace of War Gods and was extremely powerful. Unless they used their clan's foundation, they might be able to win. However, that would undoubtedly anger the Palace of War Gods. At that time, it wouldn't be something their Blackwood Fort could withstand. Therefore they could only endure. Of course, the person they hated the most was still Lin Xian. The elders of the Blackwood Fort wished they could tear this little thief apart immediately. However, the green-clothed elder's warning was very obvious, so they could only endure for the time being. They were waiting. As long as the clan's prodigy, He Muya, returned, he would definitely be able to kill the other party. This was because He Muya was very powerful and was one of the top prodigies in the Sand region. He even had 1 foot in the supremacy realm. Such a person wouldn't be afraid of anyone other than supremacies. Soon Ye-Er will be back when the alliance battle begins. The higher-ups of the Blackwood Fort were holding their breaths. On the other side, Lin Xian secretly left Quicksand City. Because he wanted to break through sword intent, he couldn't do it in the city because the influence would be too great. Therefore he had to find a place where no one was around and give it his all. In the Sunset Desert, Lin Xian arrived with the dark red divine dragon and the snow-white little monkey. They chose a remote area and began to set up a formation. The matter of setting up the formation was done by the dark red divine dragon. Soon a formation was formed. Lin Xian sank into the yellow sand and began to break through with all his strength. This time he must reach the great perfection of sword intent. The great perfection represented the limit of sword intent. It was the comprehension of sword intent. This feeling was very mysterious and couldn't be described with words. It could only be comprehended. Lin Xian emptied his body and carefully comprehended. He fell into a very wonderful state. This was a kind of comprehension, a sublimation of sword intent. It was a very rare experience. One had to know that sword intent was originally a very difficult concept to comprehend. Those who could comprehend it to the great perfection were even fewer. However, once the comprehension was successful, the power would definitely be beyond imagination. This was also the reason why martial artists were afraid of swordsmen. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. During this period, Lin Xian didn't move at all. However, the sword intent in his body strengthened. Other than sharpness, there was something else. This caused his sword intent to become complete. Lin Xian finally took this step. He had now found the right path. As long as he continued, he would definitely succeed. Another 5 days passed. On this day, a shocking aura suddenly surged out from under the yellow sand. It was as if a peerless divine sword was awakening. Buff, buff. Countless sword chi surged out, forming a huge column of sword chi that pierced the clouds. From afar it was even spectacular. Bang. Chapter 635. This figure was none other than Lin Xian. After these days of enlightenment, he had finally cultivated his sword intent to the Great Perfection realm. Great Perfection sword intent was the highest realm of sword intent. If he wanted to advance further, he would have to develop his martial soul. In other words, Lin Xian's next step was to condense the embryonic form of his martial soul. Of course, he wanted to condense the embryonic form of his sword soul. Moreover, he had the Great Dragon Sword Soul, so he only needed to fuse his Great Perfection Sword Soul with it. It could be said that Lin Xian had an innate advantage over others when it came to condensing the embryonic form of his martial soul. As long as he condensed the embryonic form of his martial soul, even if his cultivation had not reached the limit of the spirit-detecting realm, his combat strength would be half a step into the venerable realm. Once he successfully condensed a true martial soul, he would have the strength to fight against a venerable realm expert. At that time he would not be as passive as he was now. His body swayed and countless sword rays appeared under his feet, carrying him down. A huge vacuum area appeared where he had been cultivating. At this moment, the black hole was spinning rapidly, stirring up the surrounding yellow sand. Not only that, but the surrounding yellow sand was also flowing and making rustling sounds. The entire yellow sand ground shook as if something was about to appear. What is this? Lin Xian was puzzled. He did not expect such a phenomenon to appear in a random place. It's coming from underground. The dark red dragon's expression was grave as it pointed its dragon claws downward. Wuji the snow-white monkey blinked its big eyes and was also on guard. It jumped onto Lin Xian's shoulder and grabbed his hair tightly. Lin Xian was curious and decided to investigate. He waved his finger and a bright sword ray slashed out, instantly splitting the yellow sand underground. He had already comprehended the Great Perfection sword intent, and his attack power was several times stronger than before. Therefore he easily tore a terrifying crack in the yellow sand below. Lin Xian's body swayed, and the dark red dragon followed closely behind. Whoosh! The man and the two beasts quickly descended. Then Lin Xian was stunned because there wasn't any yellow sand in front of him. Instead, it was a vast and solid ground. On the ground, there were countless stone tablets standing on the ground, forming a strange formation. Beside the stone tablet, there were white bones filled with the aura of death. Lin Xian was shocked when he saw the stone steels all over the ground. He suddenly recalled that there were similar stone steels near the Xia Kingdom's Xian sword. Moreover, that place was known as the demonic abyss, and it could suck in everything nearby. He had been to that place before, but with Wine Lord's guidance, he had come out safely. However, the terror within left him with lingering fear. However, he didn't expect to see such a scene again after a few years. Moreover, the danger level this time was even higher. Even with his strength, he still felt his heart tremble. What is this? Lin Xian was puzzled. 100 Graves Taboo Formation. It's a very ancient formation, the dark red dragon said. Lin Xian frowned. Just by hearing the name, he knew that it wasn't a good array formation. What does it do? Defying the heavens and changing fate from death to life. The dark red dragon's voice was heavy. The person who created this formation was a lunatic. He wanted to break through the cycle of life and death. The person who created this formation was a lunatic among lunatics. This was because this method was impossible to achieve. Lin Xian was shocked when he heard this. This was a heaven-defying formation. One had to know that a warrior's cultivation was to seize fate from the heavens in order to obtain a longer life. However, in Lin Xian's knowledge, no one could live forever. At most, they could live a little longer depending on their cultivation. For example, a supremacy had a lifespan of about 800 to 1,000 years. A king had an even longer lifespan, usually more than 2,000 years. However, no matter how long they lived, they would eventually return to dust. No one could escape from the cycle of life and death. However, the formation in front of him wanted to break the rules of life and death. It was a heaven-defying act. Lin Xian stood at the periphery and felt his soul tremble. A chilly wind blew past, and he felt a chill down his spine. "Let's go." Lin Xian called the little white monkey and the dark red dragon and quickly left the place. Just as Lin Xian was returning to Quicksand City, the upper echelons of the Blackwood stronghold received news that he had left. "That damn thief, how dare he leave Quicksand City? He's courting death. This is a good opportunity to get rid of him. According to our intelligence, the supremacy of the Palace of Ares has already left. Although the city lord and the others will stop him if he attacks in the city, no one can protect that thief outside the city." The patriarch of the Blackwood family was a dignified middle-aged man. After hearing the news, he pondered for a moment and then ordered, "We can't use our supremacies. Otherwise, if the Palace of Ares hears about it, it will bring disaster to the family. However, we can't leave this kid alive. Send a few elders who have condensed martial souls." Then the Blackwood family sent out 4 elders. One of them had condensed a martial soul, while the other 3 had condensed a trace of a martial soul. Their strength was not weaker than Luo Lai's. The strength of these 4 old monsters was absolutely terrifying. When they worked together, they could even contend against the supremacy. They were absolutely confident that they could eliminate Lin Xian. The 4 of them quickly left the quicksand lair and lay in ambush on the only way back to the city. One day later, Lin Xian's figure appeared. He quickly rushed to Quicksand City. However, halfway there he suddenly became alert. An extremely strong sense of danger rose from the bottom of his heart. This was an instinctive reaction that could predict extreme danger. Therefore, Lin Xian immediately returned the way he came. This time his speed was even faster. He directly turned into a sword light and tore through the void, quickly disappearing on the spot. Boom. At the same time, in front of where Lin Xian was standing, 4 powerful auras exploded and crushed the void. 4 figures appeared in the void like Azura ghosts. These 4 people were dressed in black robes and even their heads were covered by a wide hood. At this moment, they were emitting an extremely powerful aura. "Chase, we can't let him escape." One of the old voices was heard. Immediately, the 4 of them quickly disappeared and chased after Lin Xian. Feeling the 4 powerful auras behind him, Lin Xian's face was extremely ugly. He had just defeated Luo Lai and was warned by a supremacy. Who would dare to attack him? Needless to say, it must be the Blackwood family. Because other than the Blackwood family, no one else was at risk of catching a cold. Thinking about it, the other party should know that the supremacy of the Palace of Ares had left. Moreover, they did not send any supremacy, so it was not against the rules. This Blackwood family, what a good idea. Behind him, the 4 auras were too powerful. Chapter 636. Martial Soul Fledgling Form. Lin Xian was shocked. That person had definitely condensed a martial soul fledgling form. This kind of person was extremely powerful. It could be said that he already had 1 foot in the venerable realm. Lin Xian felt a chill in his heart. He didn't expect that the Blackwood family would send such a powerful hunting team. If it was only 1 person, he could still fight. However, now that the 4 of them had joined forces, they were extremely powerful. He could only temporarily avoid them. Behind him, the 4 of them chased closely. Waves of enormous pressure shrouded the front. It was like an invisible hand grabbing at Lin Xian. The 4 elders' auras were extremely terrifying when they gathered together. They could already affect the sky. In an instant, Lin Xian felt an invisible resistance around him. It was as if he had fallen into a quagmire. Slash. With a low shout, countless sword auras rushed out from his body. They spread out in all directions and destroyed this invisible energy. At the same time, he used all his spiritual power and used the illusory demonic steps to escape quickly. Kit, stop struggling. You can't escape. Behind him, an old voice was heard. It was filled with cold killing intent. Lin Xian's face was gloomy. He didn't respond and flew with all his strength. Little Xian, take them to the 100 Graves Taboo formation. The dark red divine dragon transmitted. Hearing this, Lin Xian's eyes lit up. A cold smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. That place was extremely strange. Even though he was standing at the periphery, he felt a tremor coming from his soul. He thought that the power could even kill a venerable realm cultivator. He lured the 4 people behind him there. He could use that power to get rid of the 4 of them. Thinking of this, Lin Xian increased his speed and flew towards the taboo formation. Behind him, the 4 elders of the Blackwood Castle chased closely. No matter where Lin Xian escaped to, they would kill him. Half a day later, Lin Xian came to the place where he comprehended sword intent again. He slashed down with his sword and once again tore a terrifying crack in the yellow sand below. His body swayed and turned into a sword ray drilling into it. Wanna run? It's useless. No matter where you run, you won't be able to escape death. The 4 people behind him were very confident. They also tore the yellow sand below and quickly chased after him. With a flash of light, 4 figures appeared. However, they soon started to frown. The reason for that was because a sinister aura was emitting from the enormous white bones before them. What is this place? The 4 elders of the Blackwood Castle were shocked. They never thought that there would be such a terrifying place under the Sunset Desert, and that aura was even more powerful than that of a venerable one. Boss, what should we do? One of them asked. Find that brat first. The old voice sounded. This place is very dangerous. That kid definitely can't stay here for a long time. You want to use the dangerous forbidden area to plot against us? How laughable. The 4 of them searched and soon found Lin Xian. Brat, don't think that you can save your life by running here. Although this place is strange, it can't save you. The 4 elders of the Blackwood Castle grinned hideously. They blocked the way and looked at Lin Xian with murderous intent. It was even to the extent that they didn't have to make a move. They only had to chase Lin Xian into the depths of the stone steel, and they would be able to annihilate his body and soul. Among them, one of the elders waved his hand, and an enormous palm of light gushed out and swept over. It was as fast as lightning and was incomparably fierce. This palm was extremely ingenious. If Lin Xian dodged, he would definitely enter the depths. However, if he chose to take it head-on, this palm carried the power of a martial soul's embryonic form, and it would definitely cause him to be heavily injured. Moreover, even if he could withstand 1 palm, he would absolutely be able to withstand 10 or even 100 palms. As long as they spent some time, they would be able to kill Lin Xian here. They wanted to get rid of Lin Xian too much. Not only because Lin Xian had killed their disciples, but also because Lin Xian's talent was too heaven-defying. If such a figure were to mature, it wouldn't take long for him to step into the venerable realm. Moreover, he would be an extremely powerful one. At that time, it would be a disaster for their Blackwood family. Therefore, they wouldn't allow Lin Xian to mature. Looking at the palm of light that was flying over, Lin Xian's face darkened slightly because he could also see through the other party's thoughts. However, it was impossible for him to go deep inside. He wasn't confident. Moreover, this place was too strange, so he chose to take it head-on. His entire body bloomed with light, condensing into a red lotus that was incomparably beautiful. In an instant, the red lotus armor covered his entire body. Although it was only an illusory image condensed from spiritual power, its defense was definitely incomparably strong. Boom. Powerful energy accompanied the palm of light, and all of it bombarded Lin Xian's body. This palm was extremely fierce. Even though Lin Xian had the red lotus armor, he still felt the blood in his body churning, and all the bones in his body seemed to have cracked. Damn it. Lin Xian gritted his teeth and growled. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Coming to this forbidden land was the idea of him and the dark red divine dragon. He would enter the formation as bait, while the dark red divine dragon would hide in the dark and secretly set up a formation to capture all of them in one fell swoop. As long as the formation was completed, it would be able to teleport all 4 of them to the depths of the forbidden land. With the horror of this place, it would definitely be able to kill all 4 of them. Therefore, he had to wait now until the dark red divine dragon's formation was completed. Moreover, during this period he couldn't reveal any flaws to avoid arousing the 4's suspicion and vigilance. Therefore, Lin Xian's task was very difficult. He had to stabilize the 4 of them while withstanding their attacks. Could be said that he was in danger. However, once he succeeded, he would be able to completely kill all 4 of them. If he succeeded, it would definitely cause a huge blow to the Blackwood family. You four old things actually dare to chase after me. Aren't you afraid of the Palace of Ares' revenge? Palace of Ares? The four elders of the Blackwood Fort sneered. Don't take us for fools. The people of the Palace of Ares have already left. Moreover, we didn't send out any venerables. It's not considered a violation of the agreement. Moreover, so what if we sent them out? If we kill you here, no one will know. Brat, blame yourself for being an idiot. How dare you leave the city under such circumstances? The four of them sneered. They didn't take Lin Xian seriously at all. They indeed had such confidence. The four of them had condensed the embryonic form of their martial souls. If they joined forces, no one below the venerable realm would be able to escape. Moreover, the other party had already entered the killing formation. There was no chance of survival. How dare you go against our Blackwood Fort? I'll let you die in despair and pain. Kill him slowly. I want to watch his blood flow out bit by bit. The four elders sneered and attacked one after another. A fist, like a heavenly hammer, shone with a metallic radiance and smashed down with a loud bang, smashing towards Lin Xian. On the other side, dozens of flames gushed out and transformed into fire snakes. They roared ferociously and rampaged through the void. Lin Xian's heart was heavy. Killing intent erupted from his eyes. He executed his footwork and dodged rapidly in the limited space. Moreover, he quickly pulled out the Wind Shadow Sword and counterattacked. Chapter 637. Two streaks of sword chi formed a cross in the air and rushed forward to block the attack of the Skyhammer. At the same time, a vortex of sword chi formed beside him and quickly turned toward the fire snake. Boom. Bang. The four attacks collided in the air and exploded into a dazzling light. However, the other two attacked mercilessly. Another two extremely fierce attacks rushed toward Lin Xian. No matter how strong Lin Xian was, it was difficult for him to block them. Therefore he was hit this time. His body trembled and the red lotus armor flickered. In an instant, Lin Xian's face became extremely pale, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. In an instant, Lin Xian suffered an unimaginable injury. This was definitely the most serious injury he had suffered in the past 3 years. Lin Xian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and gritted his teeth. Damn ruffian dragon, is it done yet? Soon. Hold on for a little longer. The dark red dragon replied. You know that I can't use my original strength because I lost my dragon essence. But don't worry, just hold on for a little longer and this formation will be done soon. Okay. Lin Xian gritted his teeth and said. He quickly swallowed a few healing pills, and at the same time, he madly circulated the Immortality chant to heal the injuries in his body. Humph, kid, how does it feel? One of the black-robed men sneered. He flipped his palm and condensed a small pagoda, which he quickly pressed downward. Lin Xian resisted. His body trembled again, and the blood at the corner of his mouth became thicker. Ah, kid, you're showing off. How does it feel? Isn't it good to be on the verge of death? The elder of the Blackwood family sneered. They were like demons torturing Lin Xian bit by bit. You four bastards, as long as I don't die, I'll definitely kill you. Lin Xian's voice was cold and he was like a killing god. Humph, how dare you be so stubborn? Do you think you still have a chance to escape? Another elder snorted and pointed a finger. A powerful light flickered and collided with the red lotus armor, causing it to tremble violently. The violent power made Lin Xian spit out blood again. For a moment, Lin Xian's injuries worsened. This time, without any hesitation, he took out a 2,000-year-old spiritual herb and quickly swallowed it. As soon as the elixir appeared, the four elders of the Blackwood family were shocked. All of them stared at the elixir with burning eyes. It's actually a 2,000-year-old spiritual herb. The four of them were shocked. Even their family only had a few stalks of this kind of thing, but this hateful little thief in front of them actually didn't care about it at all, as if he was gnawing on a carrot. What a waste, what a waste. The four elders had an impulse to tear Lin Xian apart. Looking at their expressions, Lin Xian chuckled. For old dogs, do you want to eat? Lin Xian waved the elixir in his hand. Kneel down and beg me like a dog and I might give it to you. You're courting death. The four elders were furious. A little thief who was about to die actually dared to tease them like this? This was unbearable for the four of them. When you die, the zero spirit herb will naturally be ours. Kid, I'll pull out your tendons and pull out your bones, and let you bleed to the last drop of blood. This kid still has a lot of good things in his storage belt. Be careful when you attack later. Don't break the storage belt or else we won't be able to get those things. Another elder said ferociously. They talked among themselves, completely ignoring Lin Xian. Obviously, in their eyes, Lin Xian was already a fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. Lin Xian sneered in his heart. These 4 old dogs can be arrogant now, but when the array is completed, you'll be crying. No, this kid's eyes are too fierce. Let's dig out his eyeballs first. One of the black elders sneered. Also, break his limbs so he won't be able to escape when the time comes. The 4 elders exuded a powerful aura. They were ready to cripple Lin Xian and then slowly torture him. In an instant, the 4 of them launched a terrifying attack. Lin Shui roared and pushed the great dragon sword soul and perfect sword intent with all his strength. He unleashed a power comparable to the embryonic form of a martial soul, sweeping in all directions. At the same time, he quickly sent a voice transmission. Damn it, are you done? If you don't come, I'm going to die. Done. The dark red dragon said excitedly, Kid, get ready to retreat. I'm going to activate the array. In the next moment, he roared and a blood-red long sword appeared in front of him. Sword of Slaughter. The blood-red sword chi surged like a river of blood, dancing in the air. Lin Xian used all of his strength in this attack. The crescent-shaped sword chi swept out, aiming at the weakest of the 4 elders as it quickly rushed towards him. At the same time, he pushed his body to the limit. Kid, you're courting death. The elder was furious. How dare Lin Xian charge at him? This was a complete provocation. The other 3 elders sneered and attacked together. They did not intend to fight Lin Xian alone. 4 terrifying attacks were launched. The 4 of them had sinister smiles on their faces as if they could already see Lin Xian being blown up. However, in the next moment, Lin Xian disappeared in front of them. The 4 terrifying attacks suddenly lost their target and surged in the air. Not only that, but what made them even more terrified was that an invisible force filled their bodies, forming a space-distorting force. Whoosh! Before they could react, the force had already exploded. Oh no! The elder in the lead was the strongest. He was the first to react and wanted to struggle. However, when he moved, he found that the 4 of them had already arrived at the center of the stone tablet. At this moment, they were in the center of the black stone tablet, surrounded by terrifying dead spirits' resentment. The force was too terrifying. It was not something they could withstand at all. Even a venerable one would not be able to resist it. In an instant, the 4 of them felt their scalps go numb. Their eyes were filled with fear and they wanted to escape. However, as soon as they moved, a blood-red sword chi quickly slashed and blocked their way. The 4 of them resisted and collided with the blood-red sword chi, instantly shattering it. However, they were still blocked. Moreover, the energy stimulated the surrounding dead spirits. Streaks of gray aura surrounded them, forming ferocious ghost heads that quickly bit at them. Ah! Miserable screams sounded. In an instant, the 4 of them were attacked by the dead spirits and were injured. Damn thief, I'll kill you. I'll definitely kill you. When I come out, I'll definitely crush your bones and scatter your ashes. I'll extract your soul and refine it. The 4 elders of the Blackwood stronghold roared at the sky with ferocious expressions. How is it? Does it feel good? Lin Xian said with a smile. Don't you like to torture people like this? Today I'll let you have your fill. You still want to come out? Dream on. You don't have the chance anymore. Lin Xian and the dark red dragon stood outside the formation with a sneer on their faces. Just now, the 4 elders of the Blackwood stronghold had used this method to torture him. Now he naturally wanted to pay them back. Lin Xian looked ahead, his eyes full of killing intent. Just now, the 4 elders attacked mercilessly, forcing him into a dead end and almost taking his life. If it were not for the Red Lotus battle suit, he would have been killed by now. Chapter 638. The dark red divine dragon looked ahead with a smile on his face. He was very satisfied with the formation he set up. Little Shenzi, how is it? This emperor's formation isn't bad, right? Not bad, very good. When we return, I'll give you more primordial yang stones. Hearing this, the dark red divine dragon was extremely excited. Ever since he schemed against Lin Xian last time, all of his primordial yang stones were confiscated. That was why he worked so hard to help Lin Xian this time. It was to get more primordial yang stones so that he could recover his 7 breaths of dragon primary. Alright, I'll leave the rest to you. This emperor is going to collect the stones. The dark red divine dragon ran in front of the snow-white little monkey and began to ask for the primordial yang stones. Lin Xian held the slaughter sword in his hand and stared at the 4 Blackwood stronghold elders in front of him. Now it was time for him to take revenge. At this moment, the aura of death around the stone tablet floated and turned into ghost heads, pouncing on them and making them flustered. Moreover, they didn't dare to be too presumptuous and could only control their attacks within an extremely small range. After all, this place was too terrifying. If they were to encounter something, it would probably attract even greater killing intent. At that time they would be completely finished. Lin Xian didn't have any misgivings. He stared at the four people and quickly slashed out with the slaughter sword. At this moment, Lin Xian's body was heavily injured and was forcibly suppressed by him using a 2,000-year-old spiritual medicine. However, the hatred in his heart wasn't suppressed. Instead, it became more and more intense, so this sword was filled with violent power. This sword strike was still aimed at the weakest elder of Blackwood Castle. The weakest black-robed elder had his right arm bitten by a ghost head and was in a state of resistance. However, in the next moment, a violent blood-colored sword aura filled with killing intent quickly slashed over and just happened to cut that elder's right shoulder, cutting off his entire arm. That black-robed elder roared in pain, his face sinister. "Brat, I'll definitely kill you. Not only kill you, I'll also kill everyone you know. You and your family will all die in fear." That black-robed elder went crazy and his demon-like voice reverberated in the void. "Damn you!" Lin Xian's expression was cold, like a god of death. He slashed out with his long sword, and the blood-colored sword chi that filled the sky turned into countless strands of blood, forming a large net that enveloped the arm that he had chopped off. Then the severed arm was quickly wrapped up. With a flash of light, the blood-red sword net ground the severed arm into powder. Lin Xian's every attack contained the power of the great dragon sword spirit. It could be said that he was not inferior to these elders, so he could easily injure them. Seeing that his arm had been destroyed, the elder with the severed arm raised his head and roared. His heart sank completely. With his cultivation he was still unable to regrow his severed arm, so from now on he could only be a one-armed old man. Moreover, the loss of his right arm had greatly weakened his strength. However, he was obviously overthinking things because Lin Xian had no intention of letting him leave. Lin Xian swung his sword again. The terrifying sword chi was like the sharpest divine sword, quickly piercing forward. At the same time, the surrounding ghost heads formed by the death aura were nourished by the blood mist and became stronger again. They roared ferociously and pounced on the elder with the severed arm. The three elders around him roared angrily, wanting to help. However, they were also pinned down by the surrounding ghost heads and could not escape. The elder with the severed arm resisted frantically, but after 3 slashes, his left arm was chopped off again. "No! I can't accept this." Without both arms, the elder had completely lost his combat strength. A blood-colored sword chi, like a cold blood moon, spun rapidly and swept across. In an instant, the elder was cut in half at the waist. The elder's face was filled with unwillingness as his body was split in half. In the end, regret appeared in his eyes, but it was too late. Blood flowed, and the surrounding ghost heads quickly pounced on him, instantly eating the blood and the corpse clean, leaving not a single trace. Seeing this scene, the bodies of the 3 surviving elders trembled, and their hearts were filled with shock. Their comrade had disappeared right in front of their eyes. Not even a corpse was left behind. Lin Xian's expression was cold. The other party asked for it. If he did not kill, they would have been killed. Therefore he would not show any mercy. After dealing with the black-robed elder, Lin Xian's face became even paler. He was severely injured and could not hold on for much longer. Therefore he had to end the battle quickly and kill the other 3. Thinking of this, he reached out with his left hand and a pitch-black sword appeared. Nirvana sword. The black long sword was filled with the aura of death and nirvana, and it was 70 to 80% similar to the surrounding death aura. Therefore, when Lin Xian's nirvana sword appeared, it immediately caused the surrounding death aura to resonate. As if attracted, the surrounding gray death aura quickly gathered towards the nirvana sword. At this moment, Lin Xian could clearly feel that the nirvana sword in his left hand was rapidly absorbing and growing stronger. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian quickly swung his sword. This time he aimed at another black-robed elder. "Brat, how dare you!" When the 3 saw Lin Xian attack again, they immediately shouted angrily. They had already lost one of their men, and they definitely could not let him do it again. However, Lin Xian's nirvana sword was too strange. Especially under such circumstances, it was even more powerful. When the sword was swung, pitch-black sword aura surged, like rolling demonic clouds, and slashed down. At the same time, around the sword aura, countless death aura floated and rushed towards the black-robed elder. Boom! The sword aura landed, and the elder was sent flying while vomiting blood. However, before he could react, another blood-red slaughter sword chi shot towards him at an extremely fast speed. Lin Xian attacked like a madman. The red and black sword aura alternated, forming a violent attack. The surrounding ferocious ghost heads became even more violent and cold under the influence of the Nirvana sword. Facing such a violent attack, the black-robed elder could not resist at all. Not long after, his head was sent flying. "No!" the leading elder screamed, his heart bleeding. These were the elites of the Blackwood family, and they were all people who could become honorable ones in the future. However, at this moment all of them had fallen in this place. His heart was filled with regret and hatred. At the same time, his hatred was overflowing. He wanted nothing more than to tear Lin Xian into pieces. However, even if he was filled with regret, there was nothing he could do. Not long after, another person also fell into a pool of blood. He was the only one left. "Brat, I want you dead. The Blackwood family will not let you go." The leading elder roared indignantly. "If you didn't come to kill me, would you have fallen? So there's no need to regret. You asked for it." Lin Xian's two swords clashed, forming a cross of red and black sword aura that surged in the air. The two swords combined to form an even more powerful force that quickly rushed towards the last elder. "You want to kill me? Not so easy." Chapter 639. His martial soul's embryonic form was a blazing spear. At this moment he held it in his hand, looking extraordinarily mighty. The spear trembled and a sea of fire spread out, colliding with Lin Xian's red and black sword chi. Clang. Under the attack, the void trembled and terrifying waves that could be seen with the naked eye swept out in all directions. In the next moment, the surrounding stone tablets seemed to be affected, emitting balls of black chi. It was extremely terrifying. "Not good, little Xian, run." At the side, the dark red dragon's expression changed drastically when he saw this scene. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He held the Nirvana sword and quickly swung it in front of him. Then he slashed down with his sword and quickly turned around to leave. Above, countless death chi gathered, forming a huge black longsword that crashed down. At the last moment, Lin Xian used his earth-rank martial art, Gale Lightning Sword, and slashed at the elder, wanting to kill him here. That elder's scalp went numb. He tried his best to escape from this place. However, just as he moved, the ground below suddenly cracked open, and a huge rotten palm reached out and grabbed him. At the same time, a death chi that was even more powerful and terrifying than a supremacy instantly filled the surroundings. "Run!" Lin Xian's face was pale. He used his extreme speed movement technique and quickly escaped from this place. He knew that there was no chance for that elder to survive. Moreover, what made him even more shocked was that there were unknown creatures here. The rotten hand grabbed the elder and then squeezed lightly, instantly crushing him into a bloody mist. Then it grabbed at Lin Xian. At this moment, the Gale Lightning Sword above his head fell and collided with the huge palm, erupting with terrifying energy waves. For a moment, the rotten hand was blocked, and Lin Xian took the opportunity to quickly escape. Whoosh! Under the endless yellow sand, a sword ray rushed out. Then the entire ground surged and demonic chi surged. It was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian floated in the sky and looked down with a face full of fear. If he was just a little slower, he would have been left here forever. He didn't expect the 100 Graves taboo formation to give birth to a living creature. How terrifying. The dark red dragon's expression was also grave. "Let's go. You can't resist it all now." Lin Xian nodded and turned to leave. 3 days later he recovered from his injuries and flew towards Quicksand City. At the same time, the Blackwood clan fell into a state of anxiety. The 4 elders they sent out actually did not have a trace of news. This was definitely not a good thing for them. However, it was impossible for the 4 of them to die. One had to know that the 4 of them had all condensed their martial spirits. If they worked together, the thief would have no chance of surviving. However, 3 days had passed and there was still no news. In fact, they didn't even know if those 4 people were dead or alive. Wait a little longer. They definitely won't have any problems, the patriarch said in a deep voice. However, 2 days later they received news that the machine was not working. This was because someone had seen Lin Xian appear in the city. What? How is this possible? The higher-ups of the Blackwood Castle didn't believe it. However, the truth was right in front of them, and they had no choice but to accept it. At the same time, a chill rose from the bottom of their hearts. A bad premonition was brewing in their hearts. Lin Xian had returned, but there was no news of the 4 people they had sent out. Could it be they didn't dare to imagine. Impossible. It's impossible for that thief to escape by himself, let alone kill our elders. What if there's a venerable behind him? Someone analyzed. Immediately, the Blackwood Castle's elders gasped, and a trace of horror appeared in their eyes. Could it be someone from the Palace of War? They were bewildered. The patriarch's face was gloomy, and he was trembling with anger. Those 4 people were their patriarch's elites, and they could grow into venerable existences in the future. But now they had all died. This was definitely a huge loss to their clan. Moreover, the current situation showed that there was definitely an expert protecting Lin Xian behind him. Therefore, they couldn't make a move anymore. Alright, this matter ends here. When Ye returns, it will naturally be resolved. The patriarch ordered. Everyone was indignant, but no one refuted. They could only place their hopes on Blackwood Cliff. However, they were full of confidence. Because Blackwood Cliff was not only their clan's pride, but also one of the few geniuses in the Sand region. He was definitely an existence that the younger generation looked up to. Therefore, as long as Blackwood Cliff made a move, Lin Xian would definitely die. In a quiet courtyard, Lin Xian, Nan Gongseng, and Ma Rulong gathered. The 3 of them sat on the lawn, surrounded by spirit wine and barbecued meat. Come, Brother Xian, a toast to you. I hope you survive. Nan Gongseng said. Brother Lin, congratulations on increasing your strength again. Ma Rulong also raised his wine cup. Come, drink to your heart's content. Lin Xian laughed loudly and clinked cups with the 2 of them. Beside him, the dark red dragon and the snow-white little monkey also held their wine cups and drank non-stop. Damn, this Blackwood Cliff is too much. They actually sent 4 old bastards. Nan Gongseng drank the spirit wine in one gulp, and then cursed angrily. Ma Rulong smiled faintly, thinking that after this, Blackwood Castle would definitely not dare to touch Brother Lin again. No, I still feel aggrieved. Lin Xian rubbed his nose. Indeed, although we killed 4 old dogs, they deserved it. I think we should beat them up. What good idea does Brother Xian have? Nan Gongseng was excited. Does the Blackwood family have any spirit medicine or spirit stone business? Lin Xian asked. Spirit medicine is too rare here, and I don't think you'll be interested in it. However, there are quite a few precious ores. Nan Gongseng said. Does Brother Xian have any good ideas? Precious ores? Lin Xian muttered. That's not bad, why don't we borrow some? There were very few spirit medicine resources here, and even if there were, Lin Xian wouldn't be interested. One must know that he had a bag of several thousand-year-old spirit medicine in his storage ring. However, he really hadn't seen many precious ores. Of course, other than the primordial yang stone. Borrow? Oh. Nan Gongseng was puzzled. I have my own plans. Lin Xian smiled mysteriously. You 2 think about it. Do you have any spirit ores that you've been longing for? Hearing this, Nan Gongseng and Ma Rulong looked at each other, and then laughed sinisterly. Seems like you 2 have thought it through. Seeing their smiles, Lin Xian said with a smile. Brother Xian, you don't know, but other than the Blackwood Castle's Colosseum, there are several spirit ore shops in the city, and they are all famous treasure shops. There are a few things that I've been eyeing for a long time. Nan Gongseng said excitedly. Although he didn't know what Lin Xian's plan was since the other party said it, he would definitely be able to do it. Ma Rulong was a bit worried. Brother Lin, you can't be thinking of stealing spirit ores, right? If that's the case, I advise you to give up on that idea. Those spirit ore shops are very precious, and there are half-step Venerable Realm experts guarding them, and some are even Venerable Realm experts. Chapter 640. Ma Rulong was a little worried because he knew that the defense of the Blackwood family was too tight. But Lin Xian just smiled mysteriously. Don't worry, I have my ways. It's very safe. You just need to give me the addresses of those shops. Then Ma Rulong took out a map of Quicksand City and pointed out the shops on it. Then Lin Xian handed the map to the dark red dragon and the white monkey. Go and do it. Wuji, the white monkey was excited, and the dark red dragon roared again and again. Robbing and robbing, I like it. The dragon and monkey went into the room. Nan Gongseng and Ma Rulong looked at each other, not knowing what Lin Xian was doing. You 2 don't worry and just wait. Lin Xian tasted the wine with a smile. Not long after, the white monkey and the dark red dragon came out. Nan Gongseng and Ma Rulong turned around and were shocked. Damn, it's a miracle. They were so shocked that they couldn't speak. Lin Xian's eyelids were also twitching, and the corner of his mouth was twitching. He didn't expect these 2 guys to have stolen so many things. They probably emptied the shops in the Blackwood Castle, right? Hee, I was too excited and didn't control myself. The dark red dragon laughed. At the side, the snow-white little monkey also had a smug look on its face. Next to the two beasts was a pair of sparkling oars full of pure energy. Their appearance even filled the whole courtyard with spiritual energy. Of course, all of this was obtained from the treasure shop in the Blackwood Castle by the white monkey using a small treasure bowl. Looking at the sparkling oars, Nan Gongseng's mouth watered. He pounced on them. We're rich, we're really rich this time. Isn't it too much? The Blackwood Castle will go crazy. Marulong was also surprised. Is it? The dark red dragon smiled. These are the leftovers. The white monkey nodded. Obviously these two guys had hidden a lot. Brother Lin, the Blackwood Castle won't go crazy, right? Who cares? Just use it without worry. I guarantee that they won't be able to find this place. Lin Xian was very confident. Then, I won't hold back. Marulong also pounced forward. Damn golden spirit scarlet flame ore. Nan Gongseng's eyes lit up as he grabbed a fist-sized golden stone. Legend has it that this stone contains powerful metal and fire attributes. It's definitely a sacred object for martial artists who cultivate metal and fire attributes. Black feather stone. Marulong was also shocked. This stone was innately engraved with mysterious energy. If he could comprehend it, it would definitely be a great harvest. Seeing the two of them going crazy, the dark red divine dragon was tempted again. He turned his eyes and stared at the ground, ready to attack. The snow-white little monkey also squinted its big eyes and jumped around happily. Let's split these stones, Lin Xian said with a smile. Whoosh! The few of them went crazy and quickly attacked. In the end, all the treasures and ores on the ground were divided among them. Lin Xian also picked quite a few, and 3 of them were specifically requested by him. The Wild Thunder Stone was a stone left behind after the Thunder Trial. It contained the violent power of thunder and lightning, and there were even mysterious thunder patterns on it. The Divine Wind Stone was produced in the Wind Valley. It contained a gust of wind and had endless magical uses. The Crimson Fire Golden Crow Stone was said to come from the depths of the Sunset Desert and contained the power of strange fire. Lin Xian chose these 3 stones because they were related to his concept. Among them, he had already comprehended the wind and thunder concept. As for the fire concept, although he had not comprehended it, he had once supported the Black Dragon Flame, so he was very familiar with the fire attribute. It would not be difficult to comprehend it. And these 3 stones could help him comprehend the concept. In fact, Lin Xian originally wanted to only cultivate the sword concept, so that he could ensure his concentration. However, the dark red divine dragon told him to cultivate more concepts, especially the 5 elements concept. It said that it was very important for his future martial arts path. Although the dark red divine dragon did not elaborate, Lin Xian pondered and finally decided to follow the dark red divine dragon's instructions. After all, although the dark red divine dragon's cultivation base had been lost, he had once reached an unbelievable height. What it said must be reasonable. The wind and thunder concept was a variant of the 5 elements concept. Therefore, Lin Xian decided to improve the wind and thunder concept, and also comprehend the fire concept as soon as possible. While Lin Xian was going crazy, the few treasure shops in the Blackwood Fort were furious. All the rare ores in their shops had disappeared, leaving only some ordinary goods. Seeing this scene, those attendants directly fainted from fright. Trash, a bunch of trash. An old man roared madly. He was the guardian elder of a rare treasure shop. At this moment he was roaring madly in his shop. A bunch of people, you can't even see a few stones. Why don't you go die? Elder, those stones suddenly disappeared. Several attendants trembled in fright. Suddenly disappeared? That elder's face darkened. He had not sensed that anyone had come. Moreover, the defensive formation in the surroundings was still there, and there were no signs of it being destroyed. However, the treasures in the shop had disappeared. Ghost, I've seen a ghost alive. That elder trembled with anger. He had no way to explain this to the clan. Moreover, the higher-ups of the clan would definitely not believe such words. A bunch of trash, get lost. Go and investigate. The elder roared angrily. Then he angrily rushed to the clan. He did not dare to hide such a big thing. However, when he arrived at the clan, he was shocked again. Because the clan's conference hall was full of elders. Moreover, the clan leader was sitting at the front of the hall with a gloomy face, emitting a terrifying aura. In the center of the hall, several people stood with worried faces. The atmosphere in the hall was very oppressive. The heart of the elder who came to report was beating wildly. Did the clan already know? Cold sweat dripped down from his forehead, and his body trembled slightly. He had lost so many rare ores. Even if he was killed, it would not be enough. Thinking of this, he felt his legs go soft. Old Seven, you're here. Suddenly, the clan leader's voice was heard. Swish. Everyone's gaze landed on the elder, causing him to jump in fright. No way could it be that this is also? Everyone sighed and their expressions were ugly. Old Seven, why are you here? The first elder asked. This. The seventh elder was covered in cold sweat, and he did not know what to say. Seeing this scene, everyone was even more certain. Something had gone missing in the shop. The seventh elder opened the door with difficulty. Boom. Hearing that, the aura on the clan leader's body suddenly erupted, and it swept in all directions like a tsunami. It was the aura of a supremacy. At that moment, it was extremely strong, and it filled the sky like 100,000 divine mountains. Just a few things. I think the entire shop has gone missing. The clan leader's voice was cold. Spare me, clan leader. The seventh elder knelt on the ground with a thud, his body trembling. It's as if something has gone wrong today. No one stole it, but those rare treasures disappeared into thin air. Clan leader, I'm not lying. The seventh elder complained in his heart. Even he could not say that, but he could only say it. Of course I believe you. Chapter 641. You're not the first person to say that. Before this, I've already heard it 3 times. The Blackwood stronghold leader's words echoed in the air, causing the seventh elder's body to tremble. In the next moment, he understood and looked at the main hall in disbelief. There, the 3 elders' faces were terrifyingly gloomy. Those elders were the same as him. They were all elders in charge of guarding the clan's treasure hall. Now that they had appeared here with that kind of expression, it was obvious that something similar had happened to him. Understanding this, the 7th elder's mind went blank. The family lost a large number of treasures in 4 treasure shops in one day. This was an unimaginable loss for the family. Moreover, what was even more shocking was that they didn't know who stole their treasures. Patriarch, I think someone must be targeting us. The great elder said in a deep voice. Could it be that thief Lin Xian? Someone asked doubtfully. Impossible, that thief definitely doesn't have this ability. I think it's very likely to be the faction behind him. You're talking about the Palace of Ares? Once these words were said, the entire main hall fell silent again. They were one of the top factions in Quicksand City. The other factions were on par with them, so there was no way they could hide from them. And it seemed that only the Palace of Ares had this ability. Moreover, not long ago, they had ignored the warning of the Palace of Ares and secretly sent people to kill Lin Xian. Now, it was very likely that the Palace of Ares was taking revenge. Are we just going to let this matter go? An elder was unwilling to accept this. Let it go? How is that possible? The leader of the Blackwood stronghold was extremely angry. Investigate thoroughly. You must keep an eye on that thief and see if there's anything unusual about him. Also, once you find the people from the Palace of Ares, immediately report to me. The Blackwood stronghold leader was really angry. One had to know that the treasures they had lost were all rare treasures. Those were the treasures their family had accumulated over decades. Now that they had all been lost, how could he not be angry? His heart was bleeding. Although the Palace of Ares is powerful, our Blackwood stronghold is not easy to bully. Great Elder, go to the Divine Bird Palace and spread the news of Goddess Murong to them. Also, you must invite the people from the Divine Bird Palace. Their Blackwood stronghold was not without a backer, and the Divine Bird Palace was their biggest backer. As long as they could invite people from the Divine Bird Palace, they would no longer fear the Palace of War Gods. In fact, they could even pay back the anger they had suffered before. After the clan leader finished giving his orders, those elders immediately left to do their own things. In the quiet courtyard, Marulong and Nangong Seng left with smiles after obtaining the precious ores. As for Lin Xian, he had sealed himself off in his courtyard and was meditating in seclusion. He left the defense formation and the safety of the courtyard to the little white monkey and the dark red dragon. He sat under the ancient tree, holding the primordial yang stone with both hands as he cultivated. This yuan yang stone contained pure yang qi, which could fundamentally change one's physique, so since Lin Xian obtained this thing, he had not stopped absorbing it. For the transformation from the spirit-detecting realm to the exalt realm, in addition to the concept of the soul, the sublimation of the body's level of life was also extremely important. Lin Xian had consumed the great strength essence in the Lost Lands and transformed his body. His life rating had already reached the level of a venerable. And this Yuan Yang stone could better strengthen his body's level. Moreover, the Yuan Yang stone not only had the effect of improving one's physique, but it could also store and purify the spirit energy in his body. It could be said to be a very top-notch treasure. Closing his eyes and concentrating, Lin Xian quickly circulated the longevity art and absorbed the pure yang qi in his palm. Traces of pure yang qi were like tiny dragons, quickly entering Lin Xian's body and circulating along with the longevity art. An hour later, a slight cracking sound came from his palm. In the next moment, Lin Xian opened his eyes. His eyes were bright and deep like the vast stars. He opened his palm and threw away the gravel in his hand. Those gravel were the Yuan Yang stones that had been completely absorbed, so they were useless. After absorbing the pure yang qi, Lin Xian took out the wild thunderstone and wind god stone. Next, he was going to comprehend the two concepts of wind and lightning. The power of wind and lightning had accompanied him from the beginning, and it was also the concept that he had comprehended the earliest. Now, these two concepts had reached the great accomplishment stage. And this time he wanted to use the strange stones in his hand to bring the two concepts of wind and lightning to the great accomplishment stage. Holding the two strange stones, Lin Xian closed his eyes again and began to comprehend. Traces of the strange power of wind and lightning came from his palm. On the two strange stones, inscriptions shone, forming wind and lightning runes that surrounded Lin Xian. From afar it was very strange. Just like this, Lin Xian continued to cultivate. At the same time, two spies from Blackwood Stronghold quickly came to the quiet courtyard and began to investigate. However, they were met with great resistance. Because there was a layer of invisible formation power that blocked their divine sense and soul. Not good, this is a defensive formation. Quickly go and ask the clan's formation elder. Soon an old man with sparse hair rushed over. What kind of formation is this? Let me break it. You dare to play with a formation in front of me? What a joke. The old man sneered again and again. Then his hands danced and quickly broke the formation. In the courtyard, the dark red dragon was lying leisurely and contentedly, lying by the pool and basking in the sun. At this moment, he suddenly raised his head and revealed an impatient expression. Damn it, where did this little bastard come from? How dare you break my formation? The dark red dragon was so angry that he jumped up. See if I don't play you to death. Then he sneered, raised his dragon claws and quickly controlled the formation. In the outside world, the Blackwood Stronghold formation elder sneered. Soon we'll be able to break it soon. You two prepare to investigate at any time. The formation elder was abnormally arrogant. There's no formation that I can't break. However, in the next moment he suddenly frowned. Something's wrong. Xiao Chen's hands danced as he quickly sent out saber after saber after saber. However, his frown deepened. Soon, the formation elder's expression changed from anxiety to shock, and finally to horror. Bang! The air fluctuated and a wave of light surged over, sending the formation elder flying. Off. The formation elder flew backward and fell to the ground. His chest felt stuffy and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Elder, what's wrong with you? The two middle-aged spies were so frightened that their expressions changed drastically, and they asked one after another. Everything was fine just now, and their formation elder had even revealed a victorious expression. However, in the blink of an eye, the situation had taken a huge turn. Their formation elder flew backward and even spat out large mouthfuls of blood. The situation was too strange. The Blackwood Stronghold formation elder sat on the ground, his eyes in a daze. He kept shouting, "Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. How could he have such profound attainments in formations?" He was about to go crazy. He had nearly 100 years of cultivation in formations, but he could not see through the changes just now at all. In fact, as soon as he touched it, he was sent flying by the power of the formation. Chapter 642. Impossible. That kid definitely doesn't have such a powerful formation. The Blackwood Stronghold formation elder roared. He wouldn't believe that a 17 or 18-year-old kid would be better than him in terms of formations. Could it be that there's a powerhouse from the Palace of Ares living here? The formation elder was terrified. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that his guess was correct. Then he suddenly jumped up like a frightened rabbit and ran away crazily. If the supremacy of the Palace of Ares was really here, then he wouldn't dare to stay. If he angered the supremacy and killed him with a slap, Then he would be finished. He didn't dare to take the risk, so he could only flee. The two middle-aged scouts looked at the formation elder who fled in a daze. Then the two of them trembled and came to a realization. Even the formation elder was scared away, which meant that there was definitely a terrifying existence here. They couldn't do anything here and might even lose their lives. The two of them understood and left quickly. Their speed wasn't any slower than the formation elders. Seeing the people outside escape, the dark red dragon laughed until his stomach hurt. Ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. 3 little worms dare to compete with me in terms of formations? How naive. The dark red dragon had a look of disdain. Then, it lazily lay beside the pool and bathed in the sun. Lin Xian naturally didn't know about this little episode. At this moment he was fully focused on comprehending the wind and thunder concept. Time passed slowly. In the blink of an eye, 1.5 months had passed. Today was the same as usual. Lin Xian was still sitting under the ancient tree and didn't wake up. However, there were waves of energy coming from afar. They were like waves that came towards him. It was weak at first, but as time passed the energy waves became stronger and stronger. In the end it even affected the entire courtyard. Swoosh! Lin Xian suddenly opened his eyes. Wind and thunder were annihilated in his eyes. The invisible wind and thunder rune floated around him. It was strange and mysterious. Then it gradually disappeared. Then the shadow of a true dragon appeared and circled around his body. Along with it was a shocking sword intent. The sword intent was very powerful. It had already surpassed the perfect stage. Or rather, it couldn't be called sword intent. It was a sword soul, the embryonic form of a sword soul. He raised his head and looked at the sky. After sensing it carefully, he frowned. Little Shenzi, you're awake. The dark red dragon flew over. Hee, I purposely let this energy fluctuation in. You've been meditating for so long, it's time for you to move around. Yes. Lin Xian nodded. Indeed, he had spent a lot of time comprehending, and needed to fight to digest some of it. Furthermore, Xiaoqian had gained a lot this time. The state of wind and thunder had reached consummation, and he had also comprehended the state of fire. Currently he had only reached small perfection. Most importantly, his perfect sword intent had already begun to fuse with the great dragon sword soul, forming the embryonic form of the sword soul. To his surprise, he discovered that some concepts were interlinked. There were a myriad of great Daos, but the heart remained the same. That was why Lin Xian could comprehend them so quickly. If others knew about this, they would probably be scared to death. This kind of speed couldn't be described as extreme, it was abnormal. What a powerful aura. Let's go take a look. Lin Xian transformed into a sword scar and soared into the sky. At this moment, countless martial artists had gathered in Quicksand City. All of them raised their heads and looked towards the sky. In the void, the two martial artists faced each other. Countless rays of light and energy surged on their bodies, covering their entire bodies. It was impossible to see their true appearances. However, judging from the aura of the two, they were very powerful, above everyone else. When Lin Xian saw this scene, he stood on top of a building and watched from afar. At the same time, he activated his soul power and listened to the discussions below. Heavens, Shaoli and Yan Qidan. Two peerless geniuses, they actually appeared at the same time. Everyone was excited, their faces filled with ecstasy. 2 of the 4 peerless geniuses of the Quicksand region had appeared at the same time, and they were confronting each other. Right now, this was definitely a shocking event. Peerless geniuses. Lin Xian's heart trembled. The aura of the two was very powerful. They must have had embryonic forms of martial souls, and their strength definitely surpassed those of the older generation. So powerful. Lin Xian carefully sensed and realized that he didn't have the confidence to defeat one of them. Of course, the other party didn't have the confidence to defeat him either. In the void, the two faced each other, forming a special area of pressure. Ordinary extreme spirit detecting realm martial artists would die immediately upon contact. Suddenly, the aura of the two rose, and a huge pressure enveloped the surroundings, carrying a trace of supremacy aura. So powerful, so unbearable. The martial artists below were frightened and retreated. They couldn't withstand it at all. However, there was one person who didn't retreat. He had a head of blue hair, and his body was surrounded by rays of starlight, like a starry sky war god. At this moment, he also emitted a powerful aura that surged into the sky, not at all weaker than the two geniuses. Who is this person? So terrifying. He can actually resist the pressure of the peerless geniuses. Xin Yaotian. A genius from outside the Quicksand region, from a king family. He's also a peerless genius. Someone recognized him. The three experts faced each other, their eyes full of fighting spirit, not giving way to each other. The three forces intertwined, forming an even more powerful force that pressed in all directions. The martial artists were frightened and retreated again. Lin Xian stood on top of the building and didn't dodge. Facing the three experts, his blood was boiling. Moreover, he had just merged with the embryonic form of Sword Soul and wanted to use it. Therefore he didn't retreat. When the force shrouded him, it immediately stimulated the power in his body. Buzz! The void trembled as if a peerless divine sword was slashing in all directions. An extremely sharp aura surged out like a heavenly pillar, competing with the other three. The crowd was in an uproar. They didn't expect another peerless genius to appear. Lin Xian, it's Lin Xian. Someone saw the figure and immediately exclaimed, "What, Lin Xian? Has he grown to such a stage?" Many people were shocked, their faces full of horror. Especially the people from the Wang family and Haimu family. When they saw this scene, they were extremely frightened. This young man's growth was too terrifying. One had to know that a month ago he didn't have such an aura. But now he could compete with peerless geniuses. "Humph, kid, it's you." When Shen Yaotian saw Lin Xian, killing intent appeared in his eyes, and the aura on his body became even stronger. He didn't expect that the ant that he looked down on not long ago, who he could even crush to death, would grow to the same stage as him. He couldn't believe it. One had to know that even if he was a peerless genius, he wouldn't have such a speed. And the other party, a nameless junior, how could he have such ability? Now he was regretting that he didn't kill him back then to eliminate this scourge. The more Shen Yaotian thought about it, the angrier he became. In the end, the blue star ring on his body bloomed, as if real stars were floating around him. Chapter 643. Shen Yaotian's astral halo shone brightly, and a powerful astral force rushed toward Lin Xian. His attack directly broke the balance formed by the four of them. Suddenly, the area that was originally enveloped by the astral force became an area of abnormally violent energy. The energy was so terrifying that it could annihilate all martial artists below the supremacy level. Boom! The astral force shone like a real star and smashed toward Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. A sword mark appeared in front of him and he quickly slashed down. The two collided and a terrifying energy explosion occurred. At the same time, the other two figures also moved quickly and collided with each other. The impact was huge. It was not weaker than Lin Xian's side at all. An earth-shattering sound was heard, and the sky seemed to be torn apart. Finally, the two of them separated. Like black lightning, they quickly rushed toward Lin Xian and Shen Yaotian. Whoosh! An intense aura surged, and a ray of light like a rainbow instantly lit up the entire sky. Accompanying it was an extremely sharp aura. The aura was abnormally violent and extremely sharp. In an instant, it quickly slashed toward Lin Xian. Lin Xian roared and clenched his fist, and a blood-red sword appeared in his hand. With a swing of the sword, a terrifying murderous aura filled the air. The blood-red sword chi surged like a river of blood, hanging across the sky. Boom! 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 The two collided and the sound of metal clashing rang out. It shook the eardrums of the surrounding people, and some weaker martial artists even bled from their ears and fainted. This strike was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian took a few steps back and his entire right arm felt numb. One could imagine how powerful his opponent was. However, his opponent did not have it easy either and retreated with a dazzling light. At this moment, Lin Xian also saw the person's appearance clearly. It was a tall young man with short hair and a burly figure. He held a huge black saber in his hand that emitted a cold light. Shaoli. The saber was unstoppable. The aura was extremely sharp, as if it could split the entire sky. Furthermore, that powerful attack power was on par with Lin Xian's. As expected of a top expert from the Sand region, his strength was terrifying to the extreme. After that attack, Shaoli didn't continue to tangle with Sun Yaotian. Instead, he quickly attacked Sun Yaotian. At the same time, another powerful figure dashed towards Lin Xian at high speed. This person's skin was dark and his facial features were regular. His eyes were as big as copper bells. Crimson runes covered his entire body. The demonic runes exuded a terrifying aura. With a punch, the void was torn apart. The terrifying fist was like a demonic mountain that was pushing out at high speed. Unlike the sharpness of Shao Li's fist, this fist was extremely violent, and its terrifying power seemed to be able to suppress everything. This young man was abnormally domineering. Demonic runes flickered all over his body, making him look like a supreme demon king. He quickly rushed towards Lin Xian. This person was also one of the exceptional experts of the Sand region. His name was Yan Qitian and he was extremely mysterious and powerful. It was difficult to find a worthy opponent in the entire Sand region. At this moment he punched towards Lin Xian, wanting to destroy him. Before the fist arrived, the terrifying astral wind had already blown over, causing the surrounding air to boil. Within the violent force, there was a crimson light that seemed to be able to stir up Lin Xian's blood and qi. Lin Xian's eyes shone brightly. The sword soul in his body circulated quickly, and he immediately suppressed this impulse. Then he held the slaughter sword in his hand. On the tip of the sword, a huge dragon claw condensed and slammed down. The crimson dragon claw landed, tearing everything apart. A monstrous pressure accompanied it, as if the entire space couldn't withstand it. The huge dragon claw and the terrifying fist collided. It was as if two divine mountains had collided. Countless thunderbolts exploded in the surroundings, causing the entire sky to boil. After one attack, the two of them were evenly matched. Lin Xian's expression was solemn. Sword qi surged from his body as if a sword god had descended. On the opposite side, Yan Qitian's demonic runes flickered, filled with a mysterious aura. After one attack he also quickly retreated. The entire space was abnormally chaotic. The four of them attacked each other, almost tearing the sky apart. Dozens of huge stars lined up in the sky, forming a huge hand of stars that pressed down on Lin Xian mercilessly. Following that was a shocking blade light. There were actually two sky prides attacking Lin Xian at the same time. Lin Xian's pupils shrank as he activated the embryonic form of the sword soul in his body. In the next moment, a hazy sword light covered the long sword. Suddenly, the slaughter sword in his hand trembled as if it had a mind of its own. The low roar of a dragon and sword reverberated, as if awakening from endless time. A ray of sword qi, like a long dragon, swept out in all directions. This ray of sword qi was even more resplendent, several times stronger than the previous one. The sword light surged, tearing the sky apart and collided with the two attacks. Boom! Dazzling energy exploded and terrifying waves surged out. Lin Xian's face was pale as he constantly retreated in the void. In an instant, a beautiful red lotus bloomed on his body. The red lotus armor covered his entire body, blocking the terrifying force outside his body. Invisibility kill. Lin Xian stabilized his body and stabbed out with his sword. The sword qi flashed and disappeared in the air. When it reappeared, it was already in front of Shaoli and Xin Yaotian. Lin Xian used the concept of wind for this sword. Could be said to be a hidden killer move. Lin Xian was not the only one who attacked. Yan Qitian also attacked. In an instant, Shaoli and Xin Yaotian also grunted as their bodies retreated. The crowd below was horrified. Many of them were hit by the energy impact and some were even injured. However, they still refused to leave. Such an exciting battle would not happen again if they missed it. Fortunately, they were all probing attacks. After exchanging a few blows, the four of them retreated again and stood in four different directions. In an instant, the chaotic scene became incomparably silent. However, the oppressive aura in the air became even thicker, as if it was about to solidify. Ah, awesome. Yan Qitian's body was covered in fiery red demonic runes. He was like a demon king as he laughed. It's been a long time since I had such a good fight. Xin Yaotian snorted. He was born in a sovereign family and had high standards since he was young. He thought that he was the best in the world. Now, there were actually 3 people who were on par with him. This made him extremely depressed. Moreover, one of them was a guy that he had once regarded as an ant. Now, he was actually able to compete with him. This made him go crazy. Shaoli did not speak. He silently looked at Lin Xian and the other 2. Then, a saber radiance rushed out from his body. He became one with his saber and quickly left. Then the other 2 left as well. Lin Xian's battle intent gradually disappeared. He also turned into a sword radiance and disappeared in the air. Today's battle made him very emotional. At the same time, he had a deep understanding of the combat strength of the top youths in the Sand region. These people had already condensed their martial souls and were at the half-step honorable realm. They were not weaker than him. To be able to compete with so many young experts, Lin Xian felt carefree. Chapter 644. Of course, Lin Xian knew that their strengths were about the same. Even if they fought with all their strength, it was likely that both sides would suffer. If he wanted to win and stand above everyone else, he would have to enter the venerable realm and become a venerable. or he would have to condense a true martial soul. Lin Xian's current cultivation was only at the late spirit detecting realm. It would be difficult for him to enter the venerable realm. At least in terms of cultivation he wouldn't be able to do so. But he could condense a true martial soul. Moreover, in this aspect he had an advantage over everyone else. He already had the great dragon sword soul within his body. As long as he fused his perfect sword intent with it, his sword soul would be complete. This process would be much faster than the others. Of course, the others also had advantages in cultivation that Lin Xian didn't have. So, the next step would be to see who would be the first to condense a true martial soul. Lin Xian took a deep breath and landed in the quiet courtyard. There were still over 10 days before the Alliance Martial Assembly would begin. Many martial artists would participate. Not only would there be peerless masters from Sand region, but there would also be geniuses from outside the region like Xin Yaotian. Thus, the upcoming battles would be extremely fierce and dangerous. Of course, these people all had different goals. Some came for Heavenly Maiden Murong, and some came to make a name for themselves. But no matter what, these people were all Lin Xian's enemies. He had to defeat everyone in order to obtain the Divine Dream Bone. It wasn't just Lin Xian who wanted to condense a true martial soul. Everyone else had the same idea. Only by condensing a true martial soul would one be able to suppress the younger generation and become the #1 character of the younger generation. There were still around 10 days until the Alliance Martial Assembly began. Lin Xian went into seclusion once more, fully fusing with the great dragon sword soul. Ever since the battle with Xiao Li and the other two peerless masters, the entire Quicksand City hadn't calmed down. Everyone was in a state of excitement. In the streets and alleys, everyone was talking about the scene from that day. Countless martial artists were discussing who was stronger among Lin Xian's group of 4. Moreover, more and more masters flooded into Quicksand City. When these people heard the names of Lin Xian and the others, they weren't convinced and wanted to fight. However, Lin Xian and the others hadn't appeared since that last battle. In Blackwood Stronghold, the elders of the Black Screen clan gathered together. At this moment, their faces were full of excitement and joy because the first elder had sent back a message. He had successfully invited the outstanding genius of the Divine Bird Palace and would arrive in a few days. Furthermore, what made them even more excited was that the genius of their clan, He Muya, who was also one of the most exceptional experts of the Sand region, had returned to the clan today. He Muya was a skinny young man. Although he wasn't particularly handsome, he had a unique aura about him. Not long after he returned to his family, he heard the news that his family had been damaged. After asking around, he found out that this matter was related to a young man named Lin Xian. A little martial artist at the late stage of the spirit detecting realm dares to provoke our family. Do you really think that there's no one in the Darkwood family? He Muya coldly snorted, a strong killing intent appearing in his eyes. Be careful. That little thief is extremely valiant. A few days ago he fought with Xiao Li Yanqitian and the others. Presumably, his strength is already not inferior to them. Father, don't worry. I'm confident. Moreover, this little thief has repeatedly bullied the Blackwood Stronghold. I will definitely cut him down. He Muya was very confident. Even if Lin Xian displayed his valiant strength, he would not be afraid. On this day, He Muya stood above Quicksand City. His loud voice was like rolling thunder clouds that spread out in all directions. Lin Xian, come out and face your death. At this moment, all the martial artists in Quicksand City were in an uproar. They all looked up at the sky. He Muya has returned. Many people exclaimed. This He Muya is really powerful. As soon as he returned, he started a battle with Lin Xian. There's no other way. Their He Muya family suffered such a big loss at the hands of Lin Xian. Naturally, they have to return the favor. I'm afraid this battle won't be easy. You have to know that Lin Xian is already able to contend with those geniuses. Not necessarily. He Muya definitely knows this news. However, he still dares to fight with Lin Xian. I think he has enough confidence. Perhaps he has some trump card in his hand. Everyone was discussing and looking forward to this battle. However, to their disappointment, Lin Xian did not seem to know about this matter and never appeared. Gutless rat. I was wondering what kind of expert you were. It turns out that you're just a coward. He Muya's voice echoed in Quicksand City. Fine, I'll let you live for a few days. When you come out, I'll immediately take your dog life. He Muya sneered a few times, then quickly descended to the ground. Suddenly, the news spread like wildfire to every corner of Quicksand City. Everyone knew that He Muya was determined to fight with Lin Xian. Perhaps when Lin Xian appeared, it would be the day of the battle. Nan Gongseng and Ma Long were also worried. Although they had seen Lin Xian's strength with their own eyes, He Muya's reputation was too great. He was almost equivalent to the top battle strength of the younger generation in Quicksand City. It could be said that it was difficult to find a worthy opponent. Now that he announced in such a high-profile manner that he wanted to kill Lin Xian, they were afraid that he did not come with good intentions. The two of them went to the quiet courtyard, but found that it was enveloped by a mysterious array and could not enter. No wonder Lin Xian did not appear. It turned out that he was in seclusion. The two of them sighed and then returned to the arena with worried faces. They could not help much in this situation. They could only pray that Lin Xian's strength would increase greatly. Lin Xian did not know about He Muya's clamor and provocation. At this moment he was cultivating and fusing with the great dragon sword soul, trying to condense a true martial soul. Now he did not want to waste a single moment. He was racing against time. Whoever condensed a true martial soul first would be the top expert of the younger generation. Moreover, once he condensed a martial soul, Lin Xian would have the strength of a venerable. At that time his safety would be greatly increased. However, these days his martial soul fusion seemed to have reached a bottleneck and did not improve. Boy, just seclusion is useless. Although your martial soul is fierce, it lacks a trace of killing intent and blood. The dark red divine dragon shook its head. Without going through the baptism of blood, it could not be considered a true martial soul. Lin Xian was silent. As an ancient expert, the dark red divine dragon had extraordinary knowledge. Its words must have some truth. Moreover, Lin Xian himself felt that his martial soul seemed to be lacking something. You need some battles. Not the kind of killing but a real battle. The dark red divine dragon reminded, these days your battles were either because you were too weak and were too lazy to fight, or because they were too strong and you could not contend against them. The only battle that could be said to be at the same level was the battle with the three great geniuses. However, in that battle, you were only probing attacks and did not have any effect at all. Only by going all out and squeezing out all your potential can you stimulate the martial soul fusion again. Lin Xian raised his eyebrows. From the dark red divine dragon's words, it seemed that it wanted him to find those peerless geniuses to compete. Chapter 645. Don't worry, I won't cheat you this time. The dark red dragon explained, of course, it doesn't matter if you don't want to take the risk. You have the dragon sword soul, so you'll be able to condense a martial soul sooner or later. However, it might take a year or two. Kid, if you're not happy, condensing a martial soul in 1 or 2 years is already very heaven-defying. You should know that ordinary warriors can't reach this step without 200 or 300 years. But you used 1 or 2 years to complete the journey that others took 100 or 200 years. It's absolutely heaven-defying. Of course, if you use my method, you'll be able to condense a real martial soul in a short time. After all, you already have the dragon sword soul. What you need to do now is to fuse with them. And the life and death battle is the accelerator of the fusion. If there's a big battle, how long will it take to fuse them into a real martial soul? Lin Xian asked. With your aptitude, about 10 days is definitely not a problem. 10 days. Lin Xian took a deep breath. That was about the time when the Alliance combat meet would begin. Okay. Lin Xian nodded, his eyes full of fighting spirit. You'll be in great danger. If you don't sublimate in battle, you'll die in battle. You have to think carefully. I've already thought it through. The path of martial arts is against the heavens. If I don't be ruthless to myself now, who knows when I'll be killed by others. Rather than that, it's better to have a vigorous battle with an expert like now. Even if I die, I'll have no regrets. Lin Xian's voice was sonorous, and the fighting spirit in his eyes kept rising. Okay, I'll set up a defensive array here and wait for your return. Lin Xian nodded and then his palms danced. The power of wind and thunder intertwined. A cyan longbow appeared in his hand. At the same time, lightning surged on his right hand, forming a golden arrow. Clear wind bow. Lin Xian used an ancient skill. He raised the bow, sensed carefully and shot an arrow. Bang! The air trembled and the air waves rolled. The golden arrow turned into a stream of light and disappeared in the air. The Blackwood Castle was brightly lit. In a magnificent hall, there was singing and dancing. At this moment, He Muya was drinking wine and chatting with the one-fist youth martial artist. He was extremely angry. The auras of these young martial artists were abnormal. They were at the same level in the distance, and 2 or 3 of them even had extremely powerful cultivations, only slightly weaker than Blackwood Cliff. They were all fellow disciples of Blackwood Cliff, disciples of Yellow Sand Valley, a 6-star sect in the Sand region. Aha, senior brother is mighty. You scared that brat so much that he doesn't even dare to show his face. What expert? I think he's just a coward. The group of people sneered. If that brat dares to come out again, there's no need for senior martial brother to make a move, we'll be able to kill him. Alright, a piece of trash isn't worth mentioning. Hey Muya shook his head. Senior brother, yeah, is that Murong goddess really here? A few young disciples changed the topic. Hearing this, the others also pricked up their ears and their eyes lit up. Yes, that should be right. I think we'll be able to see it during the alliance battle. Hey Muya said with a smile. When the time comes, I'll defeat all the strong enemies and pursue Murong Tianzhu. I'll be your senior sister-in-law. Haha, senior brother is mighty. The group of youths shouted madly. Boom. At this moment, the top of the main hall suddenly exploded. Violent energy wreaked havoc and a golden light shot towards Hey Muya as fast as lightning. Wherever it passed, golden electric arcs jumped and pierced through the void. This attack was extremely powerful and was enough to kill 6 or 7 ultimate warriors at the same time. The surrounding disciples' expressions changed. They did not expect that someone would dare to attack their senior martial brother. Hey Muya's pupils constricted and he snorted coldly. From his body, a black shadow quickly rushed out and pounced forward. That black shadow was a black tree branch. It spread out in the air and formed a black tree palm that suddenly grabbed down. Kaka. With a grasp, it grabbed the golden arrow tightly. Humph, you're just a small... Before he could finish his sentence, the golden arrow suddenly exploded. Countless electric arcs jumped and intertwined to form a sea of lightning that instantly enveloped Hey Muya. Senior martial brother. A few disciples exclaimed, their faces full of horror. Ka. However, in the next moment, countless black trees suddenly emerged from the golden sea of lightning and spread rapidly. From the looks of it, it was clearly a large black tree. The countless black branches danced and pierced through the golden sea of lightning. Not long after, the entire violent sea of lightning disappeared. Behind the black tree was Hey Muya's figure. In front of him was a wall made of black tree branches that blocked all attacks. However, the front of the wall was charred black and there were even small cracks in some places. Hey Muya, come out and die. In the next moment, an earth-shattering voice sounded. It was as if divine thunder had descended and resounded in all directions. Countless martial artists were shocked and rushed to the streets. The people of the Hey Muya family were even more panicked. Lin Xian, it's Lin Xian's voice. Everyone was excited and went crazy. Previously, when Hey Muya challenged Lin Xian, there was no response, which disappointed everyone. They did not expect Lin Xian to take the initiative to attack this time. It seemed that this battle was unavoidable. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. In the main hall, countless black tree branches twitched and retracted into Hey Muya's body. Lin Xian. Hey Muya's face was cold as he gritted his teeth and said. A shocking murderous aura spread from his body. Yeah. At the same time, the elders of the Hey Muya family came to the main hall with solemn expressions. Don't worry, I'll kill him now. He's just a thief. There's no need for senior brother to take action. I'll take him down. A black-clothed young man said. His aura was very powerful and he had already condensed a trace of martial soul. Okay. Hey Muya nodded. He could take this opportunity to see Lin Xian's strength. Suddenly, the black-clothed young man's face lit up and he disappeared from the main hall. Whoosh. The black-clothed young man appeared in the void and his eyes were like lightning as he scanned the surroundings. Who are you? How dare you sneak attack me? Come out and die. The black-clothed young man shouted and his body emitted a terrifying aura. A trace of martial soul's power spread out. Everyone below was shocked and looked at the sky in horror. This person is so powerful. When did the Hey Muya fort have such an expert? Where's Hey Muya? Hiding inside and not daring to come out? Lin Xian's voice sounded again, but he still did not appear. There's no need for senior brother to kill you. I can kill you alone. Scram or die. A cold voice echoed in the surroundings. Shameless boasting. Come out and I'll kill you with one strike. The black-clothed young man was furious. How dare Lin Xian look down on him? However, there was no sound this time. What answered him was a long golden sword. This sword was as fast as lightning and extremely sharp. It was much more powerful than the arrow from before, because it carried a monstrous sword essence. Whoosh. The lightning sword swept across the void and instantly pierced toward the black-clothed young man. Oh no. Feeling the sword essence, the black-clothed young man's face changed drastically. He finally knew how terrifying Lin Xian was. Block it. He frantically defended and set up 3 layers of defense in an instant. This time he was relieved. Crack. Off. In the next moment, the golden sword fell and instantly destroyed the 3 layers of defense. It quickly pierced his chest and flew toward the main hall of the Heimuya cliff with his body. Ding. The void trembled and the earth shook. The entire main hall was on the verge of collapse. Chapter 646. With one sword, he nailed the warrior who had condensed a trace of martial soul to the ground. This scene was too shocking. Moreover, Lin Xian killed his opponent in seconds without even showing his face. This method was too terrifying. In the main hall of Blackwood Fort, the atmosphere was very solemn. Those young warriors were frightened and trembling slightly. Is this the young man they despised? He's so strong. That black-clothed young man was ranked 3rd among them, second only to Blackwood Cliff. But now he was defeated with one sword. Blackwood Cliff might not be able to do it. Blackwood Cliff, if you want to be a coward, you can continue to send others. Lin Xian's voice sounded again. The spectating warriors were shocked. They thought Blackwood Cliff was strong enough, but they didn't expect Lin Xian to be even fiercer. He didn't take Blackwood Cliff seriously at all. Bang! A powerful aura burst out, and a figure appeared in the void. I wanted to let you live for a few more days, but since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Blackwood Cliff was full of killing intent. Swish! Lin Xian's figure appeared. This place is too small. I can't use my full strength. Do you dare to fight outside the city? It doesn't matter where you go. Today is your doomsday. Whoosh whoosh. Lin Xian turned into a flowing light and left quickly. Blackwood Cliff quickly followed behind. The two of them disappeared from Quicksand City like lightning. They disappeared. Go after them. Many warriors chased after them. They didn't want to miss such a big battle. The people of Blackwood Fort also followed. There were even venerables among them, but they were stopped by the city master and the Ma family's elder. Everyone let the younger generation solve their own problems. The venerables of Blackwood Fort had ugly expressions. There were 9 layers of venerables, and each layer had a world of difference. The highest cultivation among them was only at the 2nd layer of venerables. They were no match for City Master Qi. Moreover, there was an even more terrifying Ma family's elder beside him. Unless they invited their old ancestor, they wouldn't be enough. Forget it, all of you stay. You have to believe in ya. An aged voice rang out, causing the void to tremble. The few venerable ones from Blackwood Fort trembled when they heard this. They knew that their ancestor had spoken. Is shockingly talented. He will definitely be able to kill that little bastard. The group of venerables waited patiently. Whoosh. The Sunset Desert was a desolate place. 2 figures descended. They were none other than Lin Xian and Heimuya. You really know how to choose your own grave. Heimuya sneered, but I won't let you die so easily. I will torture you to death bit by bit. Cut the crap. Today only one of us can leave. Lin Xian shouted coldly, turning into a sword ray and rushing out. A shocking sword chi slashed out violently. It was extremely breathtaking and tore apart the sky. The spiritual chi in front of him was sucked dry, and all of it surged into the sword chi, making it even more powerful. Scram. Heimuya punched out and numerous black tree trunks gushed out. They were like numerous venomous snakes that rapidly coiled and formed a terrifying Heimuya fist. Boom. The Blackwood fist collided with the sword chi, causing the entire void to explode. The terrifying sword chi and whistling energy wreaked havoc, and a terrifying sound spread out in all directions. Look, they're fighting. Some powerful martial artists rushed over and hid in the distance to watch. There were very few martial artists, and most of them could not keep up with Lin Xian and Heimuya's speed. However, this terrifying scene provided them with guidance. You want to hurt me with just a sword chi? Ridiculous. Heimuya shouted angrily, open. Spiritual chi surged all over his body, and a small black tree appeared behind him, emitting a faint black light. Suddenly, countless thick black tree branches surged out from his body and spread rapidly. They were like demons that rushed into the sky. Thousands of trees moved together, bombarding the sword chi. Bang! That sword chi could not withstand it and cracked with a bang. However, the shattered sword chi twisted and evolved into countless small swords, like a rain of swords enveloping Heimuya. Insignificant skill. If you only have this much strength, you can go die. Heimuya laughed wildly, and the small tree behind him bloomed with light, emitting a terrifying and inexplicable energy that swept in all directions, destroying all the sword rain. Then he let out a long roar, and with all the tree branches, he swept over quickly. Martial soul fledgling form. Lin Xian frowned. He Muya was stronger than he had imagined. However, he would not be afraid. Today let's have a good fight. Lin Xian did not hold back and also used the sword soul fledgling form. Powerful sword intent filled the surroundings, forming countless sword chi that split the sky and earth. Sword of slaughter. With a slash, blood-red sword light surged, condensing into a huge blood sword in the void as if it could split mountains. On the opposite side, the huge He Muya transformed into a tree demon. It was ferocious and terrifying, with a powerful vitality on its body, and a monstrous aura enveloped an area. Chi-chi. Boom. The two collided and terrifying energy surged. The light was even more dazzling than the sun. The whole void emitted a cracking sound and terrifying cracks appeared. The yellow sand underground was blown away, and the cracks were thousands of meters long, spreading out in all directions. This attack was too terrifying, and it was enough to destroy a small city. Lin Xian quickly retreated, and the red lotus battle armor appeared on his body, making him look like a fiend god. On the opposite side, He Muya was also shocked. Lin Xian's strength was beyond his expectations. The sharp sword chi caused his skin to tighten, and he felt his heart palpitate. This feeling made his face darken, and he was very angry. The black tree branches intertwined, forming a battle intent that protected him. At the same time, he grabbed the black tree behind him, and a shield formed in his left hand, making him look extremely demonic. Then he held the black tree and attacked again. Streaks of black light shot out, rushing toward Lin Xian with an inexplicable aura. Lin Xian felt danger. Those black lights were like fiend god spears. They looked gentle, but they were extremely terrifying. In front of him, a hazy sword shadow appeared. On the sword hilt, there was a ferocious dragon head, and the whole sword looked like a dragon's body. Dragon sword. This was the embryonic form of Lin Xian's sword soul. Although it was blurry and incomplete, it emitted a terrifying aura as soon as it appeared. It was as if an ancient divine beast had awakened, and its powerful strength was shocking. He looked at He Muya, who was rushing toward him, and quickly grabbed the dragon sword soul and slashed down. A deep dragon roar sounded. Wherever the dragon sword passed, it had the power to split mountains. The dazzling sword chi crisscrossed, cutting the spreading black tree branches. Not only that, but the whole world seemed to be cut in half. Boom. In an instant, the demonic tree branches in front of He Muya were all destroyed. He snorted, raised the shield in his left hand and placed it in front of him. Clang. Crack. The shield lasted for a moment and then it quickly cracked. He Muya's expression changed greatly. The small black tree in his hand swept horizontally, striking out a black hazy light. Only then was the large dragon sword chi swept away. However, the terrifying sword intent still caused him to retreat continuously. Lin Xian's attack succeeded, but he was also in danger. Chapter 647. The 5 black lights were like the spears of the death god. They carried an extremely dangerous aura and instantly collided with Lin Xian's body. Lin Xian roared angrily and quickly operated the red lotus battle suit. Streaks of blood-red glazed light bloomed. The entire red lotus battle suit was dripping with blood. It was very demonic. The red lotus in the center seemed to come alive and swayed slightly. Boom. The martial Dao black light blasted on it and quickly exploded. Terrifying black gas filled the air and enveloped the world. Ha ha ha. He Muya stopped his body and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He looked up and laughed. You're still seriously injured after being hit by my death god light. Let's see how you fight me. He was very happy. The small black tree was the embryonic form of his martial soul. Moreover, the attack just now was his ultimate move. The death god light could deprive a martial artist of their vitality and cause them to die. Anyone who was hit by it would either die or be seriously injured. It was very ruthless. This time he risked taking Lin Xian's sword to attack. As expected, he hit. Placing the small black tree in front of him, He Muya operated a mysterious technique to repair the damage. Then he stepped into the void and walked forward step by step. The black wood on his body surged and formed a spear that he held in his hand. He wanted to torture Lin Xian to death. However, just as he walked in front of the black fog, a bright sword light suddenly split open. The speed was so fast that his eyelids twitched wildly. At the critical moment, the small black tree in front of him bloomed with light. The hazy black light blocked the sword. At that time, the terrifying and sharp sword chi still sent Heimuya flying. Heimuya flew backward and retreated hundreds of feet before he could stop himself. He spat out a mouthful of blood. In his carelessness he was injured again. Lin Xian. Heimuya's eyes shot out a terrifying light as he stared ahead. The black fog in front of him disappeared, and Lin Xian's voice appeared. The red lotus battle suit on his body flickered, but there was a black mark on his chest. That was the place where the 5 black lights swept past. The death god light was too terrifying. Even though Lin Xian had the red lotus battle suit, he was still injured. However, he endured the pain and forcibly stopped himself. He did not retreat in order to suddenly attack Heimuya. Sure enough, Heimuya was careless and fell for it. Although both of them were injured, Heimuya's injuries were more serious. "Brat, you've completely enraged me." Heimuya's voice was hoarse, like that of a devil. 2 black rays of light shot out from his eyes, like the flames of hell. Heimuya roared like a ferocious beast. In front of him, the light emitted by the small black tree was even more dazzling. It was like a black sun that was slowly rotating. "Holy tree, enter my body," Heimuya shouted in a deep voice. His voice was very low and hoarse as if it came from hell. The small black tree in front of him rotated and emitted a black light. Wisps of black mist filled the air and formed a light cocoon that enveloped the blackwood cliff. Then the small tree slowly took root in Heimuya's chest. Gulp. With the combination of the two, a world-shaking aura emanated from Heimuya's body. This aura was very shocking. Even if he was not a real venerable one, he was probably not far from it. "Die." Heimuya sneered and turned into a black light, quickly rushing towards Lin Xian. Around him, the black aura roared ferociously like a black torrent. "Black demon tree live." With a low shout, Heimuya formed a seal with his palm and pressed it against the void. The small black tree in front of his chest bloomed with light and spat out a seed. It was accompanied by a palm print. Bang! The void trembled. At the place where the palm print was, a demonic tree grew rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye, instantly filling the entire sky. The branches trembled as if demons were dancing. The black leaves were as big as houses, and the trunk was like a small mountain, covering the sky and the sun. Horizontal wood sky weapon. Heimuya stretched out his hands again. On his palms, light bloomed and a purplish-black giant tree appeared. It was like a heavenly pillar, incomparably huge and enveloped the surroundings. He clenched his hands and the purplish-black giant tree smashed towards Lin Xian. Bang! The void instantly exploded and cracks appeared in the space. This attack was very close to the attack of a venerable one. At the same time, the black demon tree also waved its branches and turned into a giant python that pounced towards Lin Xian. It was densely packed and covered the sky, making one's scalp tingle. In an instant, Lin Xian felt an incomparably terrifying pressure. In particular, the purplish-black giant tree above his head made his body tremble slightly. Pressure, the pressure of life and death. This time Lin Xian felt the pressure. However, he was not afraid at all. In fact, he was somewhat happy. The reason he chose to fight was to break through under pressure. With a long roar, Lin Xian pulled out the Wind Shadow Sword, activated the fledgling sword soul with all his strength and slashed out. Fierce Wind Blade. This sword was as fast as the wind and as fierce as fire. Wherever the sword light passed, the void was twisted. Lin Xian's wind concept had reached perfection, so his comprehension was far greater than before. There were many types of wind, and this sword was the fierce wind. It had the speed of the wind and was filled with a blazing aura. It was just enough to restrain the opponent's wood-type martial arts. Whoosh whoosh. The sword chi slashed down, instantly burning the tree trunks that filled the sky. When the black tree trunks came into contact with the fierce wind sword chi, they were immediately set on fire and flew back with a roar. After dealing with the threat around him, Lin Xian did not relax. He looked at the purplish-black giant tree falling from the sky with a solemn expression. 2 sword lights shot out from his eyes. It was incomparably terrifying. Found it. Lin Xian was delighted. He had found the opponent's flaw. All martial arts had flaws and Blackwood Cliff's move was no exception. However, this flaw was hidden very well. Ordinary people would not be able to see through it. However, Lin Xian's soul power was outstanding, and he had rich battle experience. He could naturally see through it. However, when he stabbed out with the Wind Shadow Sword, he realized that it was not easy to hit this flaw. Gritting his teeth, he turned into a sword light and rushed out. Sword of Nirvana. Black sword chi gushed out as if it could take away all life. Moreover, this sword chi contained the power of the fledgling sword soul, which could destroy everything. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The closer he got to the purplish-black giant tree, the stronger the pressure Lin Xian felt. It was as if he was going to explode. Fortunately, he had the fledgling sword soul. The black sword chi pierced through the purplish-black light and quickly penetrated deeper. Boom. The power inside was even more terrifying. In an instant, Lin Xian's body was trembling. The red lotus battle garment on his body formed a strong defense, but the power still caused him to bleed from the corner of his mouth. He had suffered internal injuries. Lin Xian let out a long roar. His black hair danced wildly as he merged with his body and rushed into the sky. Bang! In the next moment he collided with the purplish-black giant tree. The power of the Sword of Nirvana caused the purplish-black giant tree to lose its life. At the same time, the black sword chi was extremely sharp and quickly cut in all directions. Crack crack. Lin Xian flew out, and the giant tree that covered the sky was also torn into pieces. Kid, you have some skills. But die. Chapter 648. Death Flower Burial. He Muya laughed sinisterly as he formed a seal with his palm and slammed it down. Lin Xian's body was like a phantom as he dodged rapidly. However, he was still struck by the palm wind. Buzz. The next moment he was sent flying as he felt something shatter in his body. Bam bam. Bam bam. Lin Xian's heart suddenly shrank. He felt the power of death recur in his body and quickly take away his vitality. That feeling was very similar to his Nirvana sword. However, it was even stranger than his Nirvana sword. In the next moment, a black petal condensed behind Lin Xian and kept pulsating. With every pulsation, the black petal would grow stronger while Lin Xian's vitality would weaken. Nirvana sword chi. Lin Xian broke out in cold sweat as he quickly circulated the Nirvana sword. Black sword chi filled his body and quickly resisted the black petal. At the same time, the sword of slaughter slashed out and blocked He Muya, who was pouncing over. Haha, it's useless. No one can escape from the death flower, not even supremacies. He Muya laughed wildly as if he could already see Lin Xian's appearance after his vitality was taken away. Lin Xian did not say a word. He held the sword of slaughter in his hand and looked at He Muya vigilantly. At the same time he quickly used the Nirvana sword chi to resist the death flower. He Muya's attack succeeded, but he did not attack. Instead, he looked ahead with a mocking expression. He wanted to enjoy Lin Xian's painful death. Lin Xian was indeed in great pain. His organs were beginning to age and decline. If he had not consumed the essence of the earth and reached the supremacy realm, he would have died long ago. Even so, he probably could not hold on for long. Humph, he's quite persistent. He Muya was greatly surprised. Even a prodigy of the same level as him could not hold on for so long. Lin Xian in front of him could hold on for so long. However, it was useless no matter how long it lasted. Sooner or later he would become a dried corpse. Ah! Lin Xian was in pain. He frantically circulated the Nirvana sword chi to destroy the death aura in his body. However, this was too slow. He gritted his teeth and decided to use the Great Dragon Sword Soul. Under such circumstances, it was dangerous to use the Great Dragon Sword Soul. He had not fully fused with it, so he might hurt himself. However, Lin Xian gritted his teeth and decided to fight. A deep dragon roar resounded as the Great Dragon Sword Spirit roared and rushed towards the Death Flower. A single strike was all it took to disperse it. However, Lin Xian also suffered internal injuries, bleeding from many parts of his internal organs. Activating the art of longevity, he quickly healed himself. At the same time, he madly absorbed the surrounding spirit chi. At the same time, the Nirvana sword devoured the flower of death to strengthen itself. What? This is impossible. He Muya's face was filled with shock. He saw the death flower behind Lin Xian turn dim, as if it was about to disappear. No one could escape from the flower of death. How did he do it? He Muya was shocked in his heart. Killing intent surged in his eyes as he charged forward once more. He wanted to take advantage of Lin Xian's weakness to quickly kill him. When Lin Xian saw He Muya, his eyes spewed flames of anger. He suppressed his injuries while quickly slashing out with the slaughter sword. Blood-colored sword chi surged, filled with madness and bloodthirst as it slashed towards He Muya. The void trembled as if it was about to shatter. This sword was extremely violent. Moreover, it contained Lin Xian's intense killing intent, causing the slaughter sword to tremble. Buff, buff, buff. The void was torn apart as the blood-colored sword chi instantly cut apart the black fog around He Muya. The sword soul's aura pierced his skin, causing him to tremble. Nirvana sword. Before the first sword landed, another sword rose. The Black Death Sword chi was vast and mighty like the long river of hell, eerie and terrifying. This Nirvana sword had once absorbed the death aura in the 100 Graves taboo formation. Now that it had devoured the death flower, it had become even stronger. The aura of Nirvana caused Muxia to tremble. He roared and activated the embryonic form of his martial soul with all his might to resist. The small black tree in front of his chest blossomed with light. Black chi revolved around it, resisting the two-sword chi. The two-sword chi of Nirvana and Slaughter were blocked, as if they had fallen into a quagmire. However, the embryonic form of the sword soul was unaffected, and it crashed into Muxia's body. Muxia screamed as the defense in front of his chest was torn apart. Two sword marks appeared, and it was a ghastly sight. Lin Xian held his sword with both hands and quickly rushed forward to engage in close combat. He was like a demon god, and the more he fought, the braver he became. He waved his two swords, and the embryonic form of the dragon sword soul roared, unleashing its power to the extreme. Muxia was stunned by this domineering aura, and could only passively defend. However, Lin Xian's embryonic form of the sword soul was too powerful, and every attack could injure him. Therefore, after a few moves, he was already heavily injured. In fact, this was very normal because the dragon sword soul was an offensive saint technique between heaven and earth, and it was far superior to ordinary martial souls. Therefore, even though Lin Xian's cultivation was behind Muxia's, his actual combat power was stronger than his opponent's. However, Muxia did not know this. He was very sullen now. He was a prodigy, and he was invincible in the sand region, but now he was being suppressed by a youth whose cultivation was far behind his. This made him feel humiliated. In the distance, those martial artists who were hiding to watch the battle were even more stunned. Lin Xian actually had the upper hand, and this was beyond their expectations. Especially those martial artists from Muxia Fort, they were even more disbelieving. Impossible, this must be an illusion. Lin Xian held his two swords and operated the embryonic form of the sword soul, and a terrifying sword chi spread out in all directions. At this moment he was completely immersed in the wonderful effects of the dragon sword soul, and every sword was full of spirituality and power. Die! Muxia roared as if he had gone mad. His hands formed a strange seal, and he urged the embryonic form of the black tree martial soul. Bang! A shocking power burst out, and Lin Xian was blasted away. Blood flowed out of Muxia's body and flowed into the small black tree. The small black tree was nourished by the blood, and it began to grow crazily, becoming incomparably huge in an instant. Moreover, there was a flower on it which looked like a flower of death. At this moment, the flower petals bloomed and a black ball condensed in the center. The power inside flowed crazily, and every trace was frightening. Forbidden technique, Death Ray. Muxia roared as he urged the small tree with all his strength. Suddenly, the black ball of light rotated and shot out a black beam of light. Not good, it's a forbidden technique. It's too difficult to use it now. In the distance, the elders of Muxia Fort were shocked. They wanted to stop it, but they found that it was too late. At this moment, Lin Xian felt the threat of death, which was even more intense than the death ray. He urged the red lotus armor to the extreme, and at the same time, combined the two swords in his hands, forming a crimson-black sword. Great Dragon Slash. Lin Xian's arm fell, and he slashed out with his sword. Sword chi surged like the roar of a true dragon, and the scene was terrifying. Sword chi shone, covering heaven and earth, and the death ray flew, carrying the power of hell. Boom! A shocking explosion occurred and the entire sky collapsed. Lin Xian and Muxia were sent flying at the same time. There was a fist-sized hole in Lin Xian's abdomen and blood flowed out. That was the power of the death ray. Not only did it shatter the red lotus armor, but it also heavily injured him. On the opposite side, Muxia was also in a miserable state. Chapter 649. The shocking attack caused both Lin Xian and Lin Xian to suffer heavy injuries. Lin Xian was pierced by the death ray, while Muxia had a terrifying sword wound on his chest, which almost split him in half. Lin Xian stopped himself from retreating and quickly used the Immortality chant to suppress his wound. Then his eyes emitted a shocking light. It was like a sword aura that swept in all directions. Staring coldly at Muxia in the distance, Lin Xian charged forward again. The battle just now made his blood boil. he felt a hidden power awakening in his body, and the great dragon sword seemed to be more spiritual than before. Seeing the effect of the battle, how could Lin Xian give up? He roared and charged forward like a god of war. Although Lin Xian was severely injured, he became more courageous as the battle went on. The sword in his hand emitted a dazzling light, and streaks of sword aura flew out, forming a curtain of light. Violent energy surged, and a large amount of yellow sand was swept up. Every sword could split a huge mountain. Sword of Slaughter. Sword of Nirvana. The two killer moves were used at the same time, sealing off a part of the sky. Lin Xian charged forward, not even leaving himself a way out. Therefore he was prepared to die in this battle. Only in this way could he completely stimulate the great dragon sword soul's battle intent. He Muya was severely injured and he was extremely shocked. He had a trace of retreating, but now he was forced to do so by Lin Xian's aura. However, as a prodigy, his pride did not allow him to escape halfway. With a furious roar, He Muya's eyes were filled with ruthlessness as he charged forward. The small black tree in front of his chest emitted a black fog, which shrouded him like a demonic cloud. At this moment, He Muya's entire body had turned into wood. It was very demonic. He threw out 81 punches in a row, and the terrifying energy was like the Milky Way, vast and mighty. It was as if millions of divine mountains had crashed into each other, causing a huge crack in the sky. However, Lin Xian's aura was too fierce, especially when he fully activated the great dragon sword soul. His combat strength was extremely powerful. The sword aura was like a dragon, tearing apart the fist techniques in the sky and slashing toward He Muya. Clang. Countless black branches grew out of Blackwood Cliff's body like demonic tentacles, blocking the attack. Furthermore, the sound of metal and stone trembling could be heard. Just the aftermath of the sound caused countless cracks to appear on the ground, spreading in all directions. It was obvious how terrifying this attack was. Lin Xian was shocked. He didn't know what He Muya's martial spirit was. It was so strange that it could block his attack. However, he didn't need to know. In terms of battle prowess, no martial soul could compare to the great dragon sword soul. With a dragon's roar and sword cry, the long sword exerted strength once more, tearing apart Blackwood Cliff's defenses and slashing him flying. This time the wound was even more terrifying. Ah! He Muya roared madly as the branches and leaves on his body swayed. The shadow of the huge tree of death spread out and rushed out of the void, pressing down on Lin Xian. Umph! Lin Xian coldly snorted, and the great dragon sword spirit erupted. A phantom of a true dragon soared into the sky, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, wanting to tear the sky apart. Boom! In an instant, the tree of death was destroyed and quickly dissipated. He Muya's face was pale as he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Impossible. He couldn't believe that the embryonic form of his martial spirit that he was so proud of was defeated so easily. This time he didn't have any fighting spirit in his heart. His entire aura disappeared as he fell downwards. Lin Xian's long sword emitted a large amount of light as it slashed downwards. "Junior, how dare you!" An angry roar sounded, followed by several figures rushing over from afar. They arrived in front of Lin Xian in an instant. Boom! One of them made a move. A glowing fist fell downwards like a mountain, intercepting Lin Xian's sword chi. Clang! Off! The fist collided with the fist and resisted for a moment before it was cut in half. What? Several people were shocked. They were the elders of Blackwood Fort. Their cultivation was very strong and they had all condensed the embryonic form of their martial spirits. However, they couldn't even block a single strike from Lin Xian, which made them extremely shocked. The martial artists watching the battle from afar were even more shocked. No wonder Lin Xian was able to defeat Blackwood Cliff. His attack power was too terrifying. Block it for me. Two elders made a move, releasing extremely dazzling attacks. Only then were they able to block the sword chi. At this moment, another elder made a move and took Blackwood Cliff away. At this moment, Blackwood Cliff was seriously injured and unconscious. The three Blackwood Fort's elders' hearts were heavy and their faces were full of anger. Their genius disciple had lost, and it was a crushing defeat. They couldn't accept it. Looking at Lin Xian, the three of them were full of murderous intent. At this moment, Lin Xian was also seriously injured. The wound on his abdomen was bleeding again. The three of them pondered. This was the best opportunity to kill Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian's sword strike just now made their hearts tremble. That casual sword strike actually required the two of them to work together to resist. If Lin Xian attacked with all his strength, perhaps the three of them wouldn't be able to take him down. Lin Xian looked at the three of them. The aura of the sword spirit revolved around his body, making him look like a god of war. He came here to fight, so it didn't matter who he fought. With a sneer, Lin Xian made a move with his long sword. Boom! The whole void boiled and fell into a frenzy. It was as if a furious dragon was roaring. In an instant, the three elders felt that their lives were in great danger. Let's go. The three of them were frightened. They didn't dare to stay and quickly left with Blackwood Cliff. Facing Lin Xian, the three of them didn't even have the courage to fight. Looking at the fleeing sound, Lin Xian laughed. He also turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the horizon. In the distance, everyone was shocked. Lin Xian was too powerful. Not only did he defeat Blackwood Cliff, but he also suppressed the three elders to the point that they couldn't raise their heads. Perhaps soon Lin Xian would be able to surpass many young experts. After defeating Blackwood Cliff, Lin Xian came to the depths of the desert. He found a safe place and began to heal his injuries. Although he won this battle, he was seriously injured. Especially that death ray which almost made him faint. Fortunately, he had a powerful cultivation method like the longevity art and a 1,000-year-old elixir. Only then was he confident that he could heal his body in a short time. Half a 1,000-year-old elixir entered his mouth. Lin Xian drank a cup of spirit wine and then quickly circulated the longevity art. At the same time, he used the great dragon sword soul to remove the death aura in his body. 2 hours later, his injuries were 70 to 80% better. The death aura in his body was completely removed. This battle allowed his great dragon sword soul to fuse again and display an even more powerful battle strength. Lin Xian estimated that he had fused about 60% of it. His strength had also increased a lot compared to before. Still not enough. Lin Xian clenched his fists. He was not satisfied. His goal was a real martial soul. After another hour of rest, Lin Xian's body had recovered to 90%. He turned into a sword light and soared into the sky. This time he ran in another direction. Before coming, he was already able to find out the location of those geniuses. This time he was going for Yan Qitian. That young man who was like a supreme demon king left a deep impression on him. Chapter 650. Merry Forest was the largest and most joyous place in the entire Sand region. It was a place where countless martial artists lived their lives in a drunken stupor. And Yan Qitian was here. Lin Xian sprinted, turning into a stream of light as he rushed over from the depths of the Sunset Desert. In the middle of the desert, a patch of green land appeared. The green lake was like a gemstone embedded in the ground. The surrounding trees swayed, producing a rustling sound. Beside the lake, a group of beauties dressed in light muslin were frolicking. Wine and delicacies were placed around them. How was this a desert? It was more like heaven on earth. Lin Xian descended from the sky, attracting countless gazes. There was no other way, he was too eye-catching. His clothes were tattered and stained with blood. There was also a murderous aura surrounding him. No matter how one looked at it, he did not look like he was here to enjoy himself. "Friend, what are you here for?" A purple-clothed middle-aged man appeared, looking at Lin Xian and said in a deep voice. The power behind Merry Forest was very strong, even the city lord had to be respectful. Therefore they were not afraid of people causing trouble. "Looking for someone?" Lin Xian said. He did not want to have a conflict with Merry Forest. "Looking for someone?" The purple-clothed middle-aged man frowned. He could feel the powerful aura on Lin Xian's body. That was the power of the martial soul's embryonic form. "Who are you looking for?" he asked in a deep voice. For a genius martial artist like Lin Xian, his future was limitless. He did not want to offend him. "Yan Qitian." The purple-clothed middle-aged man's pupils shrank. The other party was actually looking for Sand Region's prodigy. The surrounding beauties were also surprised. Their beautiful eyes roamed over Lin Xian's body. "Okay, I'll bring you there." He turned and quickly left. Lin Xian restrained his aura and followed behind. This oasis was not big, only about 1/3 of Quicksand City. However, as Lin Xian walked, he became more and more shocked. Merry Forest was bigger than it looked from the outside. At least, Lin Xian walked for so long and saw countless palaces, but he still did not reach the end. Finally, the purple-clothed middle-aged man stopped in front of a bamboo forest. At this point, Lin Xian could be sure that he was no longer in the desert, but in a strange space. This was because the scene in front of him was not a desert at all. It was more like an imperial courtyard. This should be a special small space like a rare treasure auction. "I can go in by myself," Lin Xian said. The middle-aged man nodded and left. Up ahead, there was a young man with his back facing Lin Xian. He was sitting in the bamboo forest, holding a wine jug in his right hand and a beautiful woman in his left. He was very carefree and happy. Lin Xian looked at the figure in front of him and did not move. Instead, he frowned slightly. He could feel that although Yan Qitian was enjoying himself, he did not let down his guard, especially after he came in. Presumably, the other party could also sense his presence. I really didn't expect it to be you who came. Yan Qitian laughed out loud. He held the beauty in his arms and didn't turn around. Oh, who do you think it is? Lin Xian asked. Xiao Li, that battle maniac, or Xin Yaotian, that arrogant guy. However, it's the same even if you come, because you will all end up the same. You will all be trampled under my feet. Yan Qitian laughed out loud. His black hair fluttered in the wind. Demonic marks appeared on his body, making him look like a supreme demon king. The surrounding wind blew, and clouds of demonic clouds floated above. It was as if a peerless demon king was born. You all can leave. Yan Qitian drank the last cup of wine and waved his hand to chase away the beauty in his arms and the singing girls behind her. The beauty in his arms looked at Yan Qitian with hidden bitterness. Then she snorted and quickly left with the group of singing girls. Suddenly the entire bamboo forest quieted down. Only the rustling sound of the wind blowing through the bamboo leaves could be heard. The two looked at each other. Neither of them made a move. However, the atmosphere gradually became heavy, as if it was solidifying. The demonic marks on Yan Qitian's body shone. Clouds of demonic qi surged out and shuttled through the bamboo forest. In an instant, the surrounding vision dimmed. It was as if dark clouds covered everything. Moreover, it was accompanied by an oppressive aura. Lin Xian's body emitted thousands of sword qi, which quickly sank into the demonic clouds. These sword qi were very nimble. Although they were swift and fierce, they did not hurt a single bamboo. A muffled sound rang out in the air. It was like muffled thunder, low and distant. The energy that exploded all turned into a whirlpool, spinning in the bamboo forest. Looking from afar, a black whirlpool floated in the air. It was like a black hole, emitting a terrifying aura. When the two of them made a move, they controlled their power with great precision. They did not waste a single bit. It was not that they did not dare to destroy the bamboo forest. Instead, they wanted to enjoy themselves and use their own methods. Demonic qi overflowed and floated behind Yan Qitian. Then those demonic clouds surged. One after another, human-shaped demonic creatures rushed out. They were all formed by demonic qi. Every one of them was very powerful. They ran and roared in the bamboo forest. Demonic soldiers, demonic cultivators, demonic generals. They held all kinds of weapons in their hands. Stepping on the air, they all rushed towards Lin Xian. Countless demonic soldiers moved out, bringing with them a monstrous aura. The entire bamboo forest seemed to have turned into a demonic mountain. It was abnormally terrifying. Lin Xian flicked his finger. Sword qi surged and evolved into ferocious spirit beasts. They roared towards the sky. Giant python, god wolf, lion vulture, qiong qi. It was as if ancient beasts had come back to life, causing the whole earth to tremble. Nearby, those martial artists were terrified. They could not see the scene, but they knew that the existence in the bamboo forest was Yan Qitian. Damn, someone is actually fighting with Yan Qitian. Who is it? He is so powerful. Could it be another genius? The martial artists here were all famous. They all knew how powerful Yan Qitian was. He could be said to be an invincible existence below the honorable realm. But now, someone actually challenged him. They were eager to know, but the entire bamboo forest was shrouded in demonic clouds, blocking all sight. In the bamboo forest, the sword qi spirit beasts and demonic soldiers fought fiercely. It was extremely fierce and tragic. Fortunately, these were all formed by spiritual energy. The strength of these spirit beasts and demonic soldiers was related to Lin Xian and Yan Qitian. In the end, the spirit beasts and demonic soldiers perished together and dissipated in the air. You are not bad. You are worthy of me making a move. Yan Qitian stopped laughing and an evil smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Then a monstrous demonic qi erupted. He punched out. Boom. The originally calm bamboo forest suddenly became violent. In an instant, the entire bamboo forest turned into ashes. The entire space was filled with demonic qi. It was pitch black. Swoosh. A sword light, like the sun, pierced through the darkness and illuminated the void. This sword qi was very dazzling. It was like the sun in the sky, emitting endless energy. Lin Xian slashed out with his sword, splitting the demonic clouds in the sky into two. Then he quickly pierced out. Boom. The sword tip and demonic fist collided. The surrounding space was like a broken mirror, cracking. Destruction. Slaughter. On the long sword, two forces surged out, causing the entire space to lose its color. Half of it was as black as ink and the other half was as demonic as blood. The aura of death and slaughter filled the surroundings, destroying everything. Demonic world. Chapter 651. Demonic world. Yan Qitian's body glowed with crimson inscriptions. It was as if he had the body of a demon god. He took a step forward and rushed forward. Like a heavenly blade, he tore apart the air in front of him. Rolling demonic clouds with boundless darkness danced wildly in the surroundings. With a punch, heaven and earth lost its color. This punch was very violent and full of demonic power. Perhaps even the older generation would not dare to take it head-on. The terrifying fist wind shattered everything around it. Like a demonic dragon, it roared ferociously and rushed towards Lin Xian. Feeling this powerful demonic chi, Lin Xian was shocked. He roared and shattered the demonic clouds above his head. Sword chi swept out. The power of the sword soul embryonic form spread out, stirring up the surroundings. On the sword tip, a beautiful red lotus appeared. Sword transformation red lotus. A bright red lotus bloomed quietly. It quickly rotated in the air and fell. Each petal contained powerful energy that could easily split a huge mountain. The red lotus rotated and instantly shattered the void. Perhaps no one below the martial saint realm would be able to escape. Boom. The red lotus sword shadow landed and blasted on the demonic fist. Suddenly it set off stormy waves. The whole ground was torn apart. Rows of chi waves spread out like a tsunami. The earth trembled and the sky shook. The terrifying energy crushed everything in the surroundings into dust. The spectators in the distance were like frightened birds and beasts. They quickly retreated. In the distance, more experts rushed over. They were the guards of the Merry Woods. At this moment, they were attracted by the violent energy. Looking at the scene in front of them, their faces were gloomy and their mouths twitched. Master has ordered all of you to retreat. There is no need to care about the matters here. At this moment, the purple-clothed middle-aged man who led Lin Xian here appeared and said coldly, "Yes." The surrounding black-clothed martial artists said respectfully. Then they quickly disappeared. The purple-clothed middle-aged man also flew backward. He came to a safe place and silently watched the battle. "Ah, good. I didn't expect you to have such strength. Take another punch from me." Yan Qitian laughed wildly. Demonic clouds rolled on his body. The red glazed demonic runes were like bloody lines that pierced his body. Two pairs of black wings sprouted from his back. They were about 30 meters long, translucent like black jade, and emitted a demonic radiance. Demonic wings. With a low shout, Yan Qitian instantly disappeared. So fast. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He used the illusory demon steps and quickly retreated. However, he was still one step too late. The heavenly demonic feather opposite him was not any weaker than the earth tear movement technique. The next moment, Yan Qitian came to Lin's side. His violent fist was like a demonic hammer as it rapidly smashed towards Lin's head. There was nothing fancy about this punch. The terrifying physical strength directly shattered the air, and even the void began to tremble. Lin Xian felt the threat of death. This feeling made all the hairs on his body stand on end. He believed that if he was hit, he would definitely be seriously injured. With a roar, the red lotus battle armor appeared, forming a lotus imprint at the center. Clang. When the terrifying fist landed on the lotus imprint, it was as if it had hit a golden bell. A sonorous and powerful sound spread out in all directions. The sound wave was like a knife, cutting the void apart. Taking advantage of this gap, Lin Xian quickly retreated, escaping the attack range of the demonic fist. However, the terrifying fist wind still caused his blood to boil. After retreating 10 feet, Lin Xian stopped. Then he turned into a sword light and rushed over. On his body, the power of the great dragon sword soul was released, and his fighting spirit was high. Yan Qitian was very powerful, like a supreme demon king. His strength was even stronger than He Muya. Fortunately, Lin Xian's great dragon sword soul had also been upgraded. Now that it had merged to 60%, its attack power could be said to be extremely powerful. A sword light was like a graceful swan, vast and mighty in the void, slashing towards Yan Qitian's left rib. That was one of his flaws. The demonic wings on Yan Qitian's back vibrated, and he turned into an afterimage, instantly disappearing from the spot. The terrifying sword chi missed, and a deep abyss appeared on the ground. It's useless. You can't keep up with my speed. Yan Qitian crossed his arms and floated in the air. A sinister smile appeared on his face. Is that so? Seems like you are very confident in your speed. Lin Xian raised his head and looked at the void. My demonic wings have the maximum speed. No one in the same realm can catch up with me. Yan Qitian was very confident. However, in the next moment his body stiffened and his pupils shrank. A look of shock appeared on his face. Because Lin Xian was still in front of him, and a pair of huge wind and thunder wings were shining brightly on his back. Yan Qitian's face was gloomy. The demonic wings flapped, and he quickly disappeared with his maximum speed. Lin Xian chuckled. The wind and thunder wings on his back flapped, and his figure also disappeared. Impossible. Yan Qitian was shocked. He realized that no matter where he appeared, Lin Xian could always catch up with him. The distance between the two was only 50 feet. 50 feet, for experts like them, this distance could be completely ignored. Yan Qitian's face was gloomy, and a look of anger appeared in his eyes. He did not expect that Lin Xian could only use this kind of skill to catch up with his speed. Thinking of the words from before, Yan Qitian felt that he had been played. Demonic field. He roared and the surrounding demonic chi surged, sealing the surroundings. Suddenly, a special space of 30 feet was formed. Lin Xian's body sank and he fell downwards. He felt a huge force on his body as if it was going to crush him. Boom. He landed on the ground and two terrifying deep pits were formed. However, the terrifying force on his body did not disappear. Instead it became heavier. Red Lotus armor, condense. Lin Xian roared. The surrounding air surged and quickly formed a set of bright red armor, covering his body. Lin Xian used his strongest defense to resist the strange force around him. It's useless. Stop struggling. In my demonic field, I can increase your gravity to 30 times. You can't resist it. Yan Qitian laughed evilly, like a supreme demon king, looking down at Lin Xian. Lin Xian gritted his teeth. He was in great pain and the blood in his body was about to solidify. In the past, he had experienced 10 times the gravity, and that was still within his tolerance. However, 30 times the gravity was too much for him to bear. Even if he had the phantom of the Red Lotus armor, it would not be enough unless it was the real Red Lotus armor. In just an instant, Lin Xian's body split open. Several cracks appeared on his strong body, and blood spurted out, dyeing him red. Great Dragon Sword Soul, shatter it. He gritted his teeth and slashed out. This slash contained the essence of the Great Dragon Sword Soul, and it slashed out in all directions. The Great Dragon Sword Soul was incomparably mysterious. It was an offensive saint art between heaven and earth. Back then, it could even destroy something as intangible as the soul, let alone the gravitational field. A sword chi as thick as a water bucket turned into a long dragon that circled around him, and immediately cut open the gravitational field. Lin Xian felt the strong pressure disappear, and only then did he heave a sigh of relief. He quickly used the art of longevity to repair his damaged body. The surrounding spiritual chi surged, turning into endless light that entered his body, repairing his damaged body. Soon, the cracks on Lin Xian's body healed quickly, and he was as good as new. This is impossible. You can actually cut open my demonic field. Chapter 652. Lin Xian's sword split open the heavenly devil domain, causing Yan Qitian to be dumbfounded. One had to know that his heavenly demon field was an abnormally powerful existence. Martial artists of the same level were unable to break it. However, Lin Xian had easily split it open. Yan Qitian was enraged. The demonic aura on his body kept rolling, like an angry demon king. Kid, don't be too proud. The heavenly demon field can not only increase gravity. You will see its true power soon. In the next moment, the heavenly demon field trembled rapidly. Suddenly, the demonic aura surged and increased by 10 times. The wind whistled and the demonic flames danced. The world was dark, like a demon's den. Countless demonic beasts, demonic soldiers, and demonic generals appeared in the demonic aura, roaring ferociously. A powerful aura was awakened. The terrifying energy caused the surroundings to tremble. Yan Qitian was indeed the top genius of the slaughter zone. The heavenly demon art he cultivated was an earth-grade martial art. It was very powerful. Now he had cultivated it successfully. The heavenly demon field was one of the consummate skills. Yan Qitian had used the heavenly demon field to kill countless experts of the older generation. He had even sealed a few powerful souls into the heavenly demon field. Could be said that he was a true young demon king. Kid, you can die now. Yan Qitian merged into the demonic aura and disappeared. Then the demonic beasts and generals roared. The demonic aura was like smoke wanting to drown Lin Xian. Lin Xian held a long sword in his hand and stood proudly. His black hair fluttered in the wind. He was extraordinary. His entire person was like a peerless divine sword, unstoppable. Looking at the demonic beasts and generals rolling over, Lin Xian did not have any fear. His eyes were as vast as the stars, blooming with a blazing battle intent. His eyes were like the most dazzling sword light, piercing through the void. A powerful sword spirit aura erupted from his body, sweeping through the world and instantly tearing the sky above. This aura was too shocking. It was as if it could pierce through the 9 heavens and the netherworld, causing countless people to tremble. The great dragon sword spirit was an offensive saint technique between heaven and earth. At this moment in Lin Xian's hands, it had begun to take shape. The terrifying aura caused the surrounding to change color. At the same time, the bright red lotus armor on his body made clanging noises. Like a translucent ruby, it flickered with light and made him look like a celestial king. The heavenly demon field mercilessly fell, like the flames of hell, pulsating. The roars of the demonic beasts and demonic generals shook the heavens and the earth. Like a tsunami, wave after wave crashed towards Lin Xian. Slash! Lin Xian angrily roared. Holding the slaughter sword, he quickly slashed out. Wind Slayer. Blood-red sword chi surged and instantly turned into a blood-red hurricane, rushing forward at high speed. Violent winds blew and blood rained down. Countless cries of ghosts and howls of wolves resounded. It was like a scene from hell. This aura was extremely shocking. It was not weaker than the heavenly demon domain at all. Although the heavenly demon field was an earth-tier martial art, the cultivation method in Lin Xian's hands was even stronger. He possessed an offensive saint technique like the great dragon sword soul, and his battle prowess was astonishing. Moreover, his longevity secret was definitely above the earth-tier martial arts, so this sword strike was extremely violent. Boom! Countless demonic soldiers were instantly killed by the hurricane blade, turning into demonic chi and disappearing. The blood-red hurricane was like a murderous aura, crazily sweeping in all directions. Wherever it passed, the demonic chi dissipated. Roar! A pitch-black saber light was like a long river of the netherworld, quickly slashing down in the void. On the other side, the black spear was like a spear of the netherworld, piercing through the void and piercing towards the blood-red hurricane. 2 powerful and violent forces bombarded the blood-red hurricane, instantly causing it to tremble violently. The terrifying astral wind was like a sharp blade, ruthlessly slicing the surroundings. The air was cut open and the earth was cut open like an abyss. Finally, the blood-red hurricane exploded with a boom. Humph! In my heavenly demon field, all attacks are futile. Yan Qitian's cold voice rang out in the demonic cloud. He was like a supreme demonic ancestor sitting on the clouds and looking down. Then I will break your heavenly demon field. Lin Xian's voice was sonorous and powerful. His figure swayed and quickly rushed towards the demonic cloud above. Roar! A ferocious python that was 100 feet long, covered in black scales that shone with cold light. It was completely formed from demonic chi. At this moment, under the control of Yan Qitian, it opened its bloody mouth and bit towards Lin Xian, as if it wanted to swallow him whole. In addition, the demonic generals on both sides also attacked. The black saber light and the nether spear quickly attacked. The 3 of them joined forces to kill Lin Xian here. Just a pile of waste. Watch me break it. Lin Xian sneered. His body turned into a sword light, instantly increasing his speed. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The death saber and the nether spear pierced through the void, shattering it. However, Lin Xian had already arrived at another place. Dragon countersteps 7 steps. He let out a long roar and took a step forward. Dong! The sole of his foot stepped on the void. It was like thunder and a terrifying sound spread out in all directions. Boom! The 100 feet long python and the demonic generals trembled, and cracks appeared on the surface of their bodies. The martial artists who were watching the battle from afar had a drastic change in expression, and they kept retreating. Because that step just now seemed to have stepped on their hearts, making them feel as if their bodies were about to explode. What kind of footwork is that? So terrifying. It can actually affect a martial artist's heart directly. Countless people retreated in fear, not daring to stay any longer. This kind of battle was too dangerous. If they were not careful, they would lose their lives here. However, before they could leave, a second terrifying sound wave came again. Their hearts trembled violently as if they were about to split open. Those weaker martial artists directly fell from the sky to the ground. In the heavenly demon field, Lin Shen took a second step. The entire heavenly demon field trembled. The 100-feet-long python and the demonic generals had countless cracks on their bodies, as if they would shatter at any moment. This is your demonic chi? Can't even withstand a single blow. Lin Shen sneered, and his cold gaze looked above the demonic clouds. 10,000 demonic generals attack. Yan Qiqian's voice was cold, with a trace of anger. The demonic creatures in all directions roared and the sound shook. The surrounding mountains exploded, and countless terrifying cracks appeared on the ground. In an instant, countless figures pounced at Lin Shen. If they were hit, even a half-step supremacy would be killed. Third step. Lin Shen was expressionless. Looking at the demonic creatures that were pouncing at him, he took another step. Boom, boom, boom. The air trembled and split open. Rows of chi waves rolled out in all directions like the roaring sea waves. The momentum was terrifying. A huge light claw appeared under Lin Shen's feet. It was a dragon-shaped claw. This claw was too terrifying, and it caused the entire void to boil. The terrifying energy spread out in all directions, causing the 100-feet-long demonic beast and demonic generals, as well as the countless demonic creatures that were pouncing at him, to be torn apart by a ruthless force. One step, 10,000 demonic extermination. This scene was too terrifying. The martial artists in the distance were dumbfounded. Even the purple-robed middle-aged man was shocked. This kind of combat skill was truly heaven-defying. Dragon Rebel step. Not bad, but I won't let you take another step. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.